Welcome to Unfiltered Reptiles Podcast. I'm your boy, MJ, with my lovely host, Dave Levinson. Where's the thunder?
There's no wrestling this week, bud. No thunder.
Hey. Listen, first and foremost, I appreciate any time there's a bit of thunder, so it'll happen when it happens. But Dave, like Reptile, is it's the building, man. Hey, first and foremost, how was your Thanksgiving, man? Was it good?
It was good. I hung out with some family and just relaxed.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, if this is your first time joining us here on Unfiltered Reptiles Podcast, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single legendary podcast that this channel comes out with. I got to say, Dave, fucking kudos. I mean, I've wanted this guy on the show. Even like I said, before I even branched off and did trap, I wanted, Matt to come on Unfiltered when Forrest was alive. And the guy's busy, man. Hey, we'll tap in about what Matt's been up to, but for you to pull this off, I got to say hats off to you, man. Thank you.
I'm excited, man. Honestly, this is gonna be good. I love Matt. Keep turning your radio back.
Hi, Bree. Listen, for anyone out there who's curious about, what we're tuned in for tonight, if you could kind of give us an insight about some of the things we have to look forward to when talking to Matt tonight, Dave.
Well, if anybody's seen his collection, he's got a very diverse collection. Honestly, he just reminds me of one of those guys that just went after what he likes. Rough scale pythons, Borneos, bloods, southern Amarelli boas, and honestly, his are some of the nicest ones I've seen in the United States consistently. And again, man, he's just been out here doing his thing for a long time quietly. If you're on the East Coast, you know him if you've been at the Hamburg shows. But yeah, just an old buddy and excited to talk to him.
And you known Matt for how many years now?
Oh man, I bet you I met Matt around the year he started doing the Ocelot project. So if we look back to that, I could tell you, but I'd say about 12 years, maybe 13.
You're talking about the ocelot, the scrub ocelot?
Oh no, Ocelot in the Borneo project.
Okay, my bad. Oh, right.
We're gonna get into that. I got some pictures saved. I'll send over to you as we're going.
Lots to learn, as you can tell, man. I'm looking forward to it. Before we actually get things rolling here, I got to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by Redline Shipping. Shout out to Robin Markland over at Redline Shipping. Guys, if you are new into the game, if you're looking for a new shipping home, I'm telling you right now, Redline Shipping is where it's at. Number one customer service. Robin is legendary when it comes to taking care of his customers. He's known for that. But I just want to say, it feels awesome to be a part of the Redline Shipping family. So make sure you go check them out, redlineshipping.com. Follow on Instagram, and check out the couple of podcasts I've had with Robin. Such an amazing guy, and yeah, looking forward to it. And last but not least, guys, US ARC. Let's all support US ARC Super Chats. If you are in the chats tonight, if you have something important you want to get out there to Matt, or let us know something, drop a Super Chat, because every single dollar that you drop for Super Chat gets sent over to US ARC. Okay, let's make this fun. Let's do this. All right, we should be out doing every episode. And guess what? We got none last episode, so we should at least get one. Let's go. But man, I'm not gonna fucking lie. I'm excited for this. You ready to rock and roll, Dave? Because I'm ready to rock.
I'm ready, bud.
All right, guys. We'll sit tight because it's about to go down. Matt Minetola, Philly Herp coming right at you. Let's go.
Blue face, baby. Yeah, I'm every woman's fantasy. Mama always told me I was gonna break hearts. I couldn't surf off stupid. Don't be mad at me. I wanna see you bust down. Bend that shit over on the deck. Yeah, make that shit clap. She threw it back, so I had to double back on the gang. Smacking high off the drug. I tried to tell myself 2 times enough. And the nigga relapsed on the dead low. Ain't no running, Tatiana. You gon' take these damn shows, Tatiana. I think the pussy every time it's a murder scene. Keep shit player, Tatiana, like you ain't never even heard of me. But bust down.
and we're hella live and direct. Matt Minetola in the building. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Doing good, bud.
Doing good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Tired. Lot of work lately. So,
Matt, I'm not. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say you've been a busy guy. Like it's you've been offered to come on a bunch of podcasts, like my other one, and unfortunately, you just can't keep up with a bunch of these, can you?
yeah, no, I love podcasts. I love listening to them. I'm always honored to be on any of them, but it's always it's a big mental thing for me because I'm just always nervous to be on them. I can never understand why anyone wants to talk to me, but also, yeah, if I got anything going on in like the last couple of years, I just had a ton going on, moving with the snake collection, just moving your house with kids and everything. I was just kind of dialed out. I did NPR because I'm just like a part of the NPR crew, so I'll never turn them guys down if they need me on or want me on. So besides that, though, I've been getting back to it though finally. So that's why, and Dave hit me up and couldn't be happier to do it.
Well, just so you know, Matt, Dave's a huge asset to any podcast relation that he's involved with because of the historical knowledge of this man's brain. This guy actually has a relationship with you prior to the whole social media blow and whatnot. So this is going to be a great episode. How do you feel, Dave?
Feel good. I'm excited. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk to Matt for years, ever since I started doing the other podcast. Now that I'm here, I'm glad we got him.
Yeah, man, I've been missing you, Dave. Like I don't even do Hamburg anymore. Obviously you're not doing Hamburg. I haven't been in Tinley the last couple of years, so it's been a while since we got to hang out.
Yeah, you'll be around soon enough, man. Things are getting back to normal. I'm sure I'll see you at one of the big ones.
I'm going to try. I'm not going to vend for a while. Probably not till at least 2024, even if that's it. But I think I'm going to try to make March Tinley. I'm going to try to make the trip. So It's been a while. I know I got Dennis McNamara want me to go. I always love hanging with Dennis. So and then Chad. Yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah. Carpool out, man. But MJ, we going to be doing the Friday night at Tinley again in the lobby, or what are your thoughts on that this year?
That's kind of a tradition, don't you think?
Well, I was only there last year, but if you want to do it again, it's a tradition.
Oh, it feels like it's a tradition. It feels like we've been doing it for ages. But yeah, I'm totally down for that, for sure.
So, Matt, if you make it out to the next one, if you see us jabber-jawing in the lobby, swing by. I'd love to talk to you for 5 minutes there, too, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to say.
I'll probably talk to you longer than 5 minutes if I'm there, Dave. But, you know. So,
yeah, I appreciate that.
You also get pictures of Long Island iced tea, so I'll stick around you.
Well, you have to actually bring them to me because in that moment, I'm Hollywood. I don't buy my own drinks.
Hey, so Dave, I'm curious. Can we kind of ask Matt here the foundation that he's been building off of throughout these years, like kind of what it is that's kind of got his feet wet in this game? Because I'm curious. I have so much to learn about Matt here, and I kind of want to take things back to, what kind of was able, what foundation you're able to build to kind of get started here, Matt.
Okay, like I start from the beginning of my story, or is that how you want me to do it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to go in detail, but I just want to know like what it is that, what's the forefront foundation for you right now? Like, what is it that has been carrying you through this whole time, basically?
I really just fell. I was in the reptiles when I was a kid, just as just keeping pets and everything from the time I was like 5 to 13. I stayed interested, and I was lucky enough to move out and get my own house when I was 18. And prior to that, I knew I wanted snakes again. I started researching. I started thinking, I can get whatever I want. Let me check the internet. I don't have any, parents to tell me no to this or no to that. So I came across bloods and short tails, and I really fell in love with Borneo short tails and just jumped headfirst into them, even though I was told a million times it's stupid to get into them. You're not going to be able to do them. They're just hard to do. And it's funny because when I got mine, it was the beginning of 2003 when I first got one. And you would think, going into shows now, even if there's a little bit of blood or a short tail presence, you can always find a blood or a short tail to show now. But I went to Hamburg and I couldn't find. There was one there, one, and it was probably still to this day the ugliest marble Borneo short tail I've ever seen, and it was $650. I had 200 to spend, so I was like heartbroken. And that was it. I mean, the next show I went to, nothing, and I finally came across a guy just walking around with one in a school bag, that typical Hamburg. And he overheard me asking around, like, do you know anybody with Borneo short tails? He had a red blood, so I obviously jumped on that. And just from there on, I just really dove into the Borneo short tails and blood pythons a lot. Struggled through a lot in the beginning, figured some stuff out, and made it work. And that's kind of what fuels me, along with doing a lot of other projects.
Nice. So Borneo's got you into it, but you got a pretty deep resume at this point. I even saw, I don't know if it was your first year doing it, but you had rough scales born this year. Why don't you talk a little bit about the collection, man? Like, take us through, we know you got going on Borneos. What was the next big buy at that point, and where'd you go from there?
Well, I had a good amount of ball pythons back in the day. I guess a good amount back then was like at one point I think I had 85, and that was a lot. And then I toned that down pretty quickly. I was pretty successful with what I was doing, but I still have some ball pythons. I just didn't like where it was going at certain points. You know what I mean? It was just all about, I need a female. How many grams is this weigh? And it just wasn't what I was interested in. When it came to Borneos, and blood pythons, it was totally different. When you're keeping them, selling them to people, seeing how excited people were. It wasn't just about like, how many grams is this? I need a female. Does that thing eat mice? Because I can't take it if it eats mice. It was just tedious, and I started growing away from that. Even though it was like very nice to make the money I did off that, because Borneos and Bloods weren't knocking anybody down in 2008, 2009, not at that time. But yeah, then from there on, I was heavy in the green tree pythons, dove back out of them. I just really keep one as a pet now. Rough scale pythons I got into, the South Brazilian Amarilli boas, the BCA. I have them, as you know, Dave. I got into some red tail boas now. I got a pair of Guyanas, a pair of Surinams. I got Sri Lankan pythons, which was a snake that I've wanted for a long time. I may try breeding them this year. I think they're ready to go. They got the age. Just wondering if I really want to dive into that, if I'm going to make the positive time, if everything goes right. What else do I got? A lot of Borneos, a lot of Bloods. What else? Sanzinia. I got
nice.
I got the Mandarin phase here, and the ones that Keith has, the greens came from me. I know Keith was in love with them, so I handed them over to Keith. It's kind of our project, and that project grew with a lot of good people. So they're like at Keith's. He produced some. I just let him keep. Keith obviously asked me, and this was a while ago. This wasn't recent. And please don't hit Keith up asking him.
Yeah, leave him
if
alone.
He's not available, Sanzinia, because we're not selling any. We don't have any available. But
let the man live in peace.
Yeah. But yeah, he just said, do you want anything? And I just said, no, keep everything in the project. Just keep it going, for now. Eventually I'll get greens back over here. So I think I got retics. I got a pair of retics still. Yeah, a little bit of everything. I mean, not everything, but, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
True reptile lover.
All right. You got that, MJ? Maybe I throw one more thing at him really quick.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So, when I first met you is when you had the ocelots on your table. And that was an animal that you had picked up a couple animals from Hamburg. I believe you got off of Fred Kick's table.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? Because honestly, anytime you get to start with a morph and develop it yourself is kind of a big deal in the hobby in my eyes. Walk us through that in the beginning, the shock of producing those animals. MJ, I sent you a link of one of his recent clutches if you want to pop that up as he's talking about it.
Cool.
Yeah, so in 2005 at Hamburg, the Kick brothers, which, I'm not trying to bash anybody. This is kind of a table you walk by for me. You know what I mean? They just they're a wholesale thing, but they consistently were having Borneos, and they looked pretty good. So I took a closer look, and they had all these striped Borneos. It was one clutch. They said, yeah, we actually love the parents. One came from Tracy. It's just a stripe. The other one's just kind of weird. Try to get as much information as I can out of them, but they said they actually produced them. And I picked up a male and a female. I picked up two females that year from them. So the next year, 2006, they had another clutch, and I had for a shot. I picked up a male and a female. Funny thing was, all these years, I was plugging it into all this other stripe stuff that I had. I had another unknown stripe line I was working out. I never bred the siblings together. And that was 2005, 2006 I got them. So fast forward to 2011, there was a guy named Jordan Botto who got animals from a guy named Big Country, who I was right there when he bought them from the Kick brothers. I know the animals well. They swapped all around the collection. It was back in the day when, it was the blood pythons for him. You could kind of follow everything that everybody was doing. And this guy Jordan got a hold of the pair. He brought them together. He was getting out. He was exiting as he was hatching eggs. I think he only hatched a really small clutch, but they were killer stripes. And he had one abnormal one that was sort of patternless. that a really good friend of mine, Chris Kopecki, got. And so I said, I got all them animals. So I bred them together that next year, and right away out of the egg, I got a good sized clutch. I got a couple ocelots. I got a look that I call a white wall ocelot out of the clutch. I got a bunch of killer stripes, a bunch of reduced pattern stuff, and that's kind of how the project was born. I talked to a lot of people because I was, I didn't know what I have. It kind of could resemble ultra bright, kind of resemble ghost Borneos, kind of resemble lattes, but even on first look, everybody's like, I think it doesn't look like that. It's not working exactly the way the other ones work. I think you got to like name it. You know what I mean? Talking to in my eyes, higher ups, and they were like Keith McPeak, even I think Matt Turner, even though he wasn't into Borneos at the time, he just took a look, and speaking to Kara, and yeah, they basically said it's something that you should name and kind of claim. And I did that and been carrying the project on ever since.
Nice. And just so everyone knows in the picture, so ocelot is a recessive. So the first animals you picked up.
I don't know if it's a recessive. It's Borneo genetics. Borneo genetics are crazy. Wow. There's no rhyme or reason. Kind of it frustrates to most Borneo people, the fans of it. It's not a nuisance. I mean, everybody wants to know how something works, but when it comes to like ghost, ocelot, ultra bright, latte Borneos, it's really tough. It kind of works as if they were hets, but it doesn't quite, because almost every one of them has produced first generation with a normal. All the genes I just named, and then when you put them together, it does more. And then, some people would put, I think, ultra to ultra sometimes and not get ultras at all. And then I know someone that took an ocelot to what I would think would carry the ocelot gene from a clutch. It was like very super striped, and at least on the first time they bred it, they really didn't get anything that was like convincing ocelot. So they're just really wacky genetics. They're more polygenic than anything.
Okay. Now, to jump around a little bit too, unless I keep talking about ocelots, but okay, well, how about this about these animals? So the ones in the picture essentially are going to be your dominant form. The white on the sides, all that's all what's coming with that mutation. That pairing right there was ocelot on both sides, right? So you got a full ocelot clutch.
Yeah, exactly.
The influence of the stripe in that, is that the influence from you breeding stripe lines into your hets without knowing they were hets, or whatever you want to call them?
No, so that's another cool thing about the ocelot gene. The original animals I got, all 4 of them from Hamburg, were all striped. They were all, one was I considered the super stripe looking, which is basically an animal that has almost a full dorsal stripe, has like the tri-striping, the other stripes running down the dorsal that makes it look like 3 stripes and almost perfectly clean sides. And the other 3 were genetic stripe looking, which has a stripe but kind of has busy side pattern. So okay. I've still yet to hatch any, and anyone that's working with the gene that's hatched ocelots, there's never been like a normal or a at least genetic stripe animal. Everything comes out genetic stripe, super stripe, ocelot, white wall ocelot, which is like another look of that. And I've never seen a normal or even just a plain reduced pattern without that stripe going down the back.
Okay. What was I going to say about that then? So tell me about Borneos when it comes to when you guys decide on doing pairings, because, it seems like there's a little bit of misunderstanding on how the genetics work. You guys are kind of figuring it out as you go, like with anything. How are you guys with stacking? Like, you guys have X amount of genes. Did you immediately start putting the Blue Ghost project in it, or did you kind of keep it as its own little thing and you're happy with what it's doing?
For a long time, I kept it on its own thing. And then I introduced Ghost into it. Ghost goes a long way. That's Keith McPeak's gene when he was doing Bloods and Short Tails for Borneos. And he took that gene very far, and it had a lot of crazy looks. And it just made a lot of different looks to the point where he put different names to it that he knew, and then they stuck, like Blue Ghost, Crystal Glow Leopard. I'm like drawing a blank. It was so many names. Cinnamon Ghost, just a pure ghost, Super Ghost, Whitetail Ghost. He had so many different names for everything. The Ghost really went well with the ocelot. I mean, when I looked at them, I could tell ones that had more Ghost influence, one that had more ocelot influence, along with other people could kind of see what I was seeing. I also did it to Ultra. Ultra came out pretty good. I've yet to do it to Marble, which surprises me, but generally when you take any of them reduced pattern stuff to Marble, it just washes the Marble out. It kind of makes it wacky first generation, but then it's not very, it kind of just kills all the fun of Marble, really. I should probably start trying to take that down that road though, and keep it going to see if I, especially with extreme marble stuff, maybe it'll hammer in some of that speckling.
Yeah. And by the way, MJ, I did send you a picture of his extreme marbles that he has. Honestly, anytime I talk about your marbles, I always call them extreme. I've never seen marbles consistently as nice as your stuff. Always been one of my favorites. Now, like you said, with stacking jeans, though, like how do they complement? You know, you got that bad boy looking snake in the bottom left. You got that softer tones, the tans. You know, I'm sure your biggest fear, like you were saying with the ocelot gene, is if it ruins everything good about the marble gene, and maybe you only get a little bit of speckling, maybe almost like a small amount of granite in the background. You know, some genes don't work well together. And with the ocelot having so little pattern on the sides, it would be really interesting to see what it does with the marble project.
Yeah, and I plan on doing that. I'm just never in a rush, and I just enjoy working the project out to just, like I said, every year I do the extreme, every year I did the ocelot, I would get like a new look. So I wasn't really done with that, and I felt like, why even introduce new stuff when I'm still figuring it out myself and just seeing such cool results.
Okay, cool.
Can I just give this a lot of props right here, Matt? Like this is my jam right here, man. Like this is I guess the reason why marbles are called marbles in SDs or retics would be the same reason, right, Dave? Or and Matt, it reminds me of similarities of marble, right? Or
well, Keith McPeak, interestingly enough, hatched the first marbles, and his first ever marble that he took a picture of. Everybody thinks it's because of the speckling on the side, but it was the dorsal pattern just had this swirl in a color, and it looked like marble type, like, you know, countertops. It just like the color swirled. It was all messy, and then obviously they have the speckling on the side. So that's at least how Borneo marbles were born. And I know what you're talking about, the retic marbles. I guess it's similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously on another level, like this is like, I kind of like this better. I'm not even gonna lie, this is fucking nuts. I just got sent also this. What the fuck is this? Holy shit!
That was in that clutch. That was fresh out the egg, but it was in the clutch.
Oh my god, that thing is gnarly looking, bro.
Yeah, but that's probably the original extreme marble that I hatched. I don't even remember what year it was, but that one still to this day holds up as maybe one of the most. But that thing I think has a beat. That thing's crazy,
man. And I have do you mind if I ask him a question real quick, Dave?
Hey, go ahead. How about it?
So, you know, a lot of this stuff that I see that we're showing off here is about 2019-ish era, right?
Well, no, that is from this upcoming season. The last couple clutches you showed were from 2021.
Okay, but the stripe ones, like I think the ones that had like the 3 stripes and whatnot, those are from 2019, right?
It might have been. Yeah, it might have been. I don't know, really. I mean, sometimes when you're just looking at them as a clutch and then the size of my phone, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been 2019. 2000. I didn't really do too much in 2020, so it would either be 19 or 21 probably.
Now my question is how much of this stuff is kind of out into the public now? I mean, have you put a lot of this, you know, portion of the project in other people's hands yet, or is this something that you are still building and holding back to this day? What's going on with that?
The extremes, not so much. Starting to release some stuff, and I was over the years, and people are starting to hatch some. And Mike Kostakos is also one of the originators of the marble. He worked with Keith McPeak. He's like family too. He's hatching them now too. He just has old marble bloodline sitting on the shelf, and then he was putting them together, and then he started hatching them. So besides me and Mike, and maybe, man, I feel so bad. The names, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Someone else hatched a really killer clutch of extremes too. But besides that, there's not a lot out there, and I'm not putting a bunch out there. Ocelots have been around since 2012, and yeah, they're out there. People are hatching their own. It's crazy to me. I'm really not much on Morph Market. I need to start getting on there, but
right.
It's crazy to me to go on Morph Market and see so much ocelot in Borneo, because it's like that's something I did, and it's just like ocelot, you know, is being thrown around. It's good and bad, because with Borneos everything can be confusing, because I see stuff that's clearly not ocelot. But it's being called ocelot. And I've also seen plenty of times it's a Philly herp animal from Matt Minetola, and it was 100% not from me. I mean, maybe it was sold secondhand. That's what the person told them, but that happens all the time in Blood and Short Town world, along with all the other species of what people are doing. So it's not like it's a rarity, but it's kind of crazy to see.
Well, that's when they say you made it, bro. When they're fucking trying to say it's yours and it's not. So, what's something like this being priced at? Like, or what would it take to get something like this off your hands, Matt? I'm curious.
So that's actually one I took the Tinley. That's I could tell by the red beans or whatever. I haven't sold one like that yet. So I'm selling that's a full on extreme marble.
Right.
So I'm selling low expression extreme marble. So it's a lower form, and the prices are ranging with me between like $2,400 and $3,600. I have weird prices. And really, I was told a million times I should be higher up in price, but to me, like, yes, it's an animal that's very worth. I want to hold it very high, but also with genes that you don't exactly know how to work. I mean, I know how to work them, but I can't guarantee anything. I feel kind of odd trying to just jack somebody up for $7,500, because it's funny you mention that, because I was offered $7,500 for that animal at Tinley, and I said no. So
damn. I was gonna ask, like, would you take 6 cash? Okay, clearly no.
Yeah. The first ocelot I bought the Myrtle Beach show. There was a Myrtle Beach show, which was awesome. I did like that show. Someone offered me $6,000 for that, and it was literally the first one, and it was one of my best holdbacks, and I was able to say no. Like I said, I would love that money, trust me, but I breed these things for me. I really do. Like, I'm my own biggest customer, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm happy enough to where everything else I hatch, people really do like. So I love being able to provide people with nice animals, but really I'm my own biggest customer. People get very angry at me in a funny way, not like legit angry.
No, it's like more of a bitter, like, God damn it, sell me something. You know what I mean?
Oh no, when I had something, like all the Borneo crowd will just be like, I know it's stupid to even ask, but what are you letting go? Because I know you're not letting go much. And if I had like a 16 animal clutch, I'm probably keeping 8 or 9. I mean, and maybe later on I will come off something, but for a while I hold on to them. So
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest key factors of being a happy reptile keeper is if you could be your own best customer. I mean, God bless, you got to make something at some point. You got to be smart about it. I feel like, but if you're in that position where you don't have to be desperate, when you're in that position where you could be like, it's up to me, I'm not selling it, man, what a position to be in. And I hope to be in that position someday with all this shit behind me.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I go for with everything. I just try to pick. I'm very picky with anything I get. Like I said, like Dave was saying about my Amarillo and all that stuff. Any animal I get, I take a long time to pick. I'm never in a rush. So then when I produce it, people are generally, they generally like it a lot, which is great, because I'm glad it's not just me liking my own stuff, because I just try to go for the best. You know what I mean? Like I sit back, I wait. If it's not there, I'll just wait longer. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said that with almost any species, that, you know, anything that's appealing to you is going to appeal to somebody. You can't guarantee everyone's going to like what you're working with, but somebody's going to love it as much as you do.
So, you know, to capitalize on that, Matt, especially when you're doing your own thing and like, you know, you're just literally building a name based off you staying loyal to your projects. People fucking pay attention to that. They latch on to that. And I think that's a big thing that you've done, is earn that respect of, you're doing Matt, and people are fucking with you because what you're doing. You're not chasing anyone else's dream. I think that's the big message here.
Yeah. I've never been into chasing a project, or I mean, I guess when I was doing ball pythons, I did whatever, you know, oh, let me get to this and get to that. And that was another thing.
It's like you're almost at mercy to have to do what you have to do with the ball pythons. Like you have to either stay relevant, or basically you go lower in the bracket. You know what I mean?
Well, for a while I did that, trying to chase combos, but then I just leveled off, and I was like, you know, I think I make nice orange ghost. This was so long ago. Like I would do single gene animal. I would do orange ghost. I would do just clowns, and people would like that. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that's what made me, like, I would look at a simple, like, you know, hypogenetic snake in a ball python, but like, God damn it, you're really, you know, to the ball python world out there, you're not worth shit. And it's like, this is sad, you know. I mean, but I'm saying you are worth something. I feel like any amount you can get, but it's like, compared to where your mindset's at when you just sold something for $5,000, now you're looking at something at like $275, and then that customer is giving you the most shit out of all of them, and it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? It just makes you think, you know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, honestly, personally, I mean, again, what ball pythons do is more than anything else in the hobby right now. There's such a big foundation of what we do. I will say it is harder to be remembered for being a ball python guy. You know, what you're doing with the Borneos, you'll be remembered for that. You know, it's a small group of animals in the industry, smaller community, easier for people to go into a community like that, put the time in, have an understanding of the species, and do something different. So, you know, I love ball pythons. It's endless. We're never going to do everything we can do, but species like this excite me. I stalk your page at least once a month, and I've been doing it as long as I've known you.
Well, thank you. And I always try. I mean, it's hard. Sometimes it sounds like everyone's shitting on ball pythons, and I'm sure I've been on podcasts and like I shit on them. I know how good they are for the hobby, and they are cool animals. I mean, I still own ball pythons. I still see them, and I get it. I mean, there's combos I see, and I'm like, oh man, that's crazy looking. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they're doing that. But it's just like when I sit there and think about it, it just sucks because there's so many animals that it's like that one animal right now that everybody desires. You'll see it like, and someone has to have it. Next year is like, they're so excited about getting it. And next year it was a male, they made it, and it's getting kicked out already. It's just like I said, and I'm not really a pet guy. Like I have pets and stuff like that. When it comes to my snakes, I care for them. I have Borneos that I haven't used to breed in forever, and I don't plan on it. And they're just sitting in my room because they meant something to me when I hatched them, and they did so much for me that I got them there. And I know it's like I'm limited to room. I should probably work on getting them to a good home. But I open the drawer and I come home from work. I'm like, all right, today's the day. I'm going to get some pictures. I'm going to see if I can get this to a good home. And then I close the drawer. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to keep it. You know what I mean? And I have no intentions on breeding it. I used it. And it's not that it's not valuable for breeding anymore. It's just that I don't need to breed that animal anymore. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't have, eventually I do come off of it because if not, I would be overstocked. I would have 100 just keeper Borneos that were or whatever. But like I said, even there's just sentimental animals to me that could very well go to a good home. Like I won't just sell them online. I'll make sure I give them to someone good, but I still wind up keeping them. So, and that's the thing that just I hate about the ball python community is, like I said, one day it's the most amazing thing, and it might not be next year, but it's 2 years, and then that animal's out the door because you got to roll in the new stuff. Even for people that really like it, it's just like it's here. Oh my God, I don't need it anymore. You know what I mean? And that's kind of frustrating.
I love it's frustrating, but you got to figure out shit you could work with where that won't be the case. And I got to tell you, man, this shit behind me, the Chondros, as you already know, ain't no ball python breeding in that shit. That will break your heart and destroy you.
Yeah.
But damn right. If I'm not going to be Matt Minetola with my fucking productions, you know what I mean? Like, you ain't touching this shit. But that's like, it takes, here's the thing, like, Matt, you didn't get where you're at overnight. Like, hello, like you had to establish yourself and you put in your time. And when you don't give a fuck, and what I mean by that, like when you don't give a fuck about the attention, when you don't give a fuck about how many people are buying from you, when you just let things just happen organically, they fall into place. And that seems to what's been happening here for you. I do have a kind of a hot topic, if you don't mind, Dave, I want to throw on Matt real quick. One of the biggest things with, God bless the ball python community, right? They all it takes is one YouTube video and they're hooked, and what I mean by that, anybody new coming into this, Matt, like they get one pet snake and then they find a bar check video. I'm one of those people. That's what happened to me. I'm only in this for 5 years. This is why I love Dave, because my excitement is still very green. You know what I mean? But I do see a lot of people put themselves in positions where, not only can life happen, but space happens, right? Like people seem to get ahead of themselves, but before they know it, adults are adults and they don't have space. Space becomes a problem. How have you always determined what's too much on your plate, what's not too much on your plate? Or have you always felt like you've never had to deal with that? And you can be honest.
No, yeah. Like I said, I kind of started back out in 2003, and that's when I got really into it. No intentions on breeding, just wanting bloods and short tails, and my collection just grew into my old house, into the basement. I outgrew that and moved, and my room got even bigger. When I moved in, I was like, oh man, this is like pretty maxed out. And no, it wasn't even close to maxed out. I got even more. And then moving into this house, I bought that whole collection here with me. I really didn't shrink down too much. I don't know. Right now, I'm at like a crossroads where I have a lot and I should tone down just because I think I'll enjoy it more. Not that I'm hating anything. I just really think, like, do I really need all this stuff? I can just, and I don't mean tone down a bunch, but just cut some of the slack out. And I think I will enjoy it more. And I just always come to these, spots, but lately it's been more real where I'm like, I should drop some of this stuff because I've heard about a couple people I know, like dropping their animals down some and saying how enjoyable it is to go in their room again. Like, not that I hate, say, going into my room, but it's a lot of work. You know what I mean? So it would be nice to go down there and not think like, let me hit this, that, just that kind of mindset, and just be able to kind of enjoy a little bit more. And yeah, I'm kind of there now. I don't think I'm going to shrink down for the next year or two, I hope. But I mean, eventually I do want to dwindle down. I think I'm usually around, not including babies, probably like 120, 130 animals. And then when babies come, it goes over 200. You know, I'd like to get that number down to like a steady 100, you know what I mean? Or even 90 or something like that. And there's definitely some animals I can cut out that I'm just holding on to. And I don't mean the hold back Borneos that I'm not using. I just mean, like, I have a lot of red blood stuff where I'm not as into the mutations anymore as I used to be. Like, I love golden eyes, ivories are cool, Batrix, Batiks, but just having one of them around, I don't need a bunch of them anymore. You know what I mean? So I can just kind of cut that stuff down and have what I want. With red bloods, I like the focus on just the very red stripe stuff and T positive albino stripe stuff. And I feel like I can knock it down to that kind of thing instead of having ivories and Batiks and T negatives and all this other stuff. I can enjoy that now. I feel like I used to be a guy that I don't feel like I can enjoy it without having it. Like, I see it, I'm like, I got to have it. I'm starting to be able to look at stuff, say, I don't need it. I can enjoy it in other people's collections. I can enjoy it online. And I feel like I'm starting to get there in my older age.
Dave, are we boys?
Like, do I like you?
Yeah, are we friends?
Yeah, I'm into you, bud.
I'm going to double dip this right now. If you don't mind, I have another question to ask him to bridge.
Oh, MJ, this is our show, not Dave's show. You do anything you want.
No, I know. I feel bad for double dipping because Dave.
I like the back and forth, like it's a big deal. I'm here, man.
People dipped at the beginning, bud. You get at least a couple now and again.
All right. Check this out. Now, what I want to bridge this to next, Matt, is, keeping things around the ball python community. One thing I'm hearing and talking to people personally about are the prices, how they're being slashed in half right now, due to, and this is not maybe everywhere, but like there are people out there who are not being called out, but they're like, dude, their prices are literally slashed in half because they're worried about the recession that's going to come. First and foremost, what are your thoughts on that as far as any kind of recession that's approaching us? Do you ever feel like, I just want to hear it from you, what you feel about the recession.
Well, I've been around long enough to see the recessions and the market crashes and waves. Yes, I remember, I came into like the height of ball pythons. So like even when I first started, like I started going to Daytona, I think in 2005, just to go. I had a big 15 passenger van that was mine, and none of my boys were really into snakes, but the thought of taking a road trip down to Daytona was awesome to them. And we used to road trip it down to Daytona, which would help pay for everything. We'd all have fun, but I would generally go to the reptile show. So I would see all the crazy stuff there, ball python wise. I was buying stuff up then. And yeah, like 2005, 6, 7, all these years of just like ball pythons going up. And then there was like, I don't remember the year, it might have been around 2012, 13, where, I did Hamburg from 2005 on, like never missing shows. And your nerds, your Brian Barcheks, your Pete Calls, they were never there. I mean, and like, what? I guess Nerd and Pete Call were close to Hamburg, but then there was a point where ball pythons were so down. Here, I go into one show, I don't know. Nerd has like 6 tables in the middle. Brian Barchek's in there. Pete Call's in there. I'm like, what the hell are all these dudes doing here? I was like, dude, the ball python market's in the shitter. Everybody's coming out. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and only for, it lasted like 3 or 4 shows. And then eventually I think they would set up, but the main guys wouldn't come, which is funny how that works. It's like, if Kevin or Brian or Pete Call ain't there, people just walk by the table when they realize they're not there. It's kind of funny in that way. But yeah, I saw that. And then there was a true recession where everybody wasn't selling snakes. And obviously, the Lacey Act, where everybody was just dumping their big snakes. And I seen all these price slashes. And it's, to me, it sucks, but I guess it's temporary. And me being the kind of breeder I am, I'm not, I understand when it comes to you got to make a living. I guess you got to do it. I mean, what are you going to do? So, yeah, it just comes with the territory. We're going to see it now. It's going to go back up. We're going to see it again. Yeah, Dave's got it. It's going to go all over the place. So it's nothing new. And like I said, it just sucks. And I hope people don't make too rash of a decision, because It does, and I understand people got to dial back or make their money, but I hope to not see good people get out and too many fire sales and crazy stuff like that. That's the heartbreaking thing.
Can I jump in just one small opinion too? Because like you said, the great thing about this too, I think the first Daytona I ever went to was 2005 also, and I started buying in 2002. So me and you, like I said, we've been on the same path over the years.
Yeah.
So the reality with the market is it's not always just simply based on economy. And also, I always make a comment that 5 years will make or break somebody in the hobby. They got a good 5 years. They're either going to stick it out or they're going to call it quits. You got to look at what's going on just in everyday life right now. And you can almost look back to COVID. We talked about it. People weren't going out to dinner. They weren't going on vacation. They weren't spending money on shit. So they got on their computer and they bought reptiles. They bought reptile enclosures. They started doing bioactives. It created, you had to do something with your money all that time. Now, what are we doing this time of the year now that everything's back to normal? We're traveling for the holidays. We're buying gifts for Christmas. People aren't wasting money on things that are their hobby. They're trying to care about other people around them, including their family.
Impulse purchases.
So, yeah, this time of the year is always like this. Like, it's never not been like this in the last 20 years. I don't even know if it's any worse this year than ever before. I think there's more people in the hobby, and we all talk about how it's slow right now, but come January, people are going to be stuck in their house again. It's going to be snowing. They're not taking vacations. Holidays are over. They got a little bit of Christmas money. They got their tax money. It picks up again. Come, let's say June, it slows down. Then we get a couple of our big shows. We get our Daytona, we get our Tinley, we get the July Pomona show. And then again, we get a little bit of a slow in the fall, and then it picks up again at the first of the year. It's always been this way. Nothing has changed. We just had it too fucking good during COVID that we assumed that it was never going to go back to that. This is the norm. Don't get scared. If you got to drop some prices to pay for some food to get some stuff out there, that's fine. But you don't have to panic right now, guys. This is just the way it works.
Yeah, I guess I'm also not very equipped to answer too many market questions right now because I do need to be selling. I could use some extra money, but I'm really I have stuff that's always available. If someone hits me up, I usually have pictures ready to go and I talk to people through message, but I haven't been trying to sell lately. And I've still sold some stuff earlier in the year. And yeah, COVID, I was completely offline and I did so good. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't, it was crazy. I was like nonstop. And I actually thought to myself, like, wow, I wonder what ball python people were doing. And then when I talked to people, they're like, oh my God, it's the best I've ever sold. And I said, okay, it's not just me. You know what I mean? And I didn't think it was just me, but I was like, wow, it's crazy. And I figured the same thing. People are staying in. They got nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like I said, I remember COVID. Like I had friends that I'm not even huge video game guy, but Call of Duty, like playing. Every one of my friends was buying PlayStation so we could all hang out and play Call of Duty because everybody was just staying in. And that was our way of hanging out. Like, that's what it was. So,
like I said, we can all talk about the market. And in 3 months, when we're all doing shitty still, we can all be like, Dave's an asshole and doesn't know what he's talking about. But, I always say, man, just take a breath, have faith in you. Like you said, you're here for a reason. The animals aren't going to sell themselves. They never have. You got to put an effort in. If the effort is slashing prices, then it's slashing prices. But, we get these lows. Always be prepared for them. Enjoy the highs while they're there.
Yeah. Like I said, it just thinks because this is the kind of time with the kind of stuff that's happening, relationships get lost because people get mad at each other. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going through that so much. And I don't think the blood and short tail community does that so much. I mean, maybe, like I said, I'm not paying attention that much, but I know with like ball pythons and the stuff that sells, that kind of thing happens. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of people partnering up and it ruins relationships. And that's what sucks to really see.
Yeah.
Like I said, unrealistic expectations in a partnership is the toughest thing because where one guy's just working the course, the other guy has this expectation. When it doesn't work, it ruins the friendship. We oversell everything about this hobby. We tell everyone about the great times, but people don't buy into the hobby based on the bad things that can happen. So, when they do, it catches some people off guard. Can we talk a little more Borneo? Not that I want to oversell the public to Borneos, but...
Fine, I love Borneos, so we can talk about that all day, man.
Well, how about this? Setup is such a big thing. I've always heard the stories back in the day. Blood python Borneos, they hatch, they go right to the swamps, they're underwater. you keep all your stuff on paper. I'm sure you got humidifiers in your room. Tell us about some of the misconceptions you feel like you've heard over the years about how to keep them and what has worked best for you.
Oh man, misconceptions like crazy, especially like I said, being into them at 2003. Everybody just, not everybody. I mean, finally, when I connected with the right people, you get set up. But Google pages, local pet stores with reptile experts. You know what I mean? Like Philly had a herp society, and there was a reptile specialty store, but the guy who ran it was huge dick, old dude, just miserable guy. But my one friend I found through reptiles said you should go in there and ask him about it when I was first trying to get him before I found out about the show. And he's like, I don't know why you'd want them. You just have to, you basically got to fill a tank up with cypress mulch and have it float and make it 90 degrees. And I'm like, that couldn't be, in my head, I'm not listening to him because I was reading stuff already, but I'm just like, that couldn't be worse. He's like, I don't know why you'd want them. They break the glass and you know what I mean? They're so nasty and miserable. But yeah, misconceptions still to this day, how humid you keep them. They really don't need to be kept as wet as people think they do. Obviously, if you can get your humidity pretty high, great. But if it's down in the 40s and even hit the 30s, it's no reason to panic. You know what I mean? And they'd rather be more on the dry side than the wet side. They do a lot worse when they're wet. Temperature is a big thing. You get a miserable snake, they don't want to be kept hot. They really don't. It's good to have a cool side for them, just like any snake, and a hot side. My hot sides, you could do ambient temperature with them. I've always not done ambient temperature. I always hit a hot spot, which I do belly heat, and I have ambient temperature in my room. I run them up a space heater. My room is generally between 77 and 81, depending on time of the year, time of the day. And then their hot spots are 83 to 85 at the most. I did one year try to go just full ambient, and I guess my snakes were so tuned in to what they were, I saw a lot of problems in a short amount of time. So I quickly got out of it. I didn't feel like fighting the fight. I was just trying to do it because I felt like I was like having scares of heat tape and all that stuff. And most of my racks are animal plastics with the heat wire. So it's not the old school like UL listed heat wire. So it's not supposed to be nearly as dangerous. I still don't like heat tape, although I have heat tape on stuff. But I was just in a panic for some reason that year about heat tape. I was trying to knock that shit out. But you can go ambient. There's plenty of people that have done ambient. They do it all year long. I think a temp gradient's better, but obviously you can do ambient. But yes, overheating them leads to a miserable snake. You know what I mean? They can survive. They can survive as long as it's not 95. Then they probably are going to have some health problems. But yeah, generally they're more wound up. You know what I mean? They're a very tense, high-strung species as it is. So if you're doing something they really don't like, they're going to show you, and you're going to have a bad time with it.
Okay. Throw a number out at me though. What's your room temp like for them, and what's your hotspot like for your Borneos?
My room temp, like I said, so wintertime, wintertime it drops to 76. I let at nighttime. Daytime it gets to be about 79, 80. And then my hot spots are 83, 84 generally. That's what I like them at.
Okay. So also misconceptions, man. I mean, I remember coming up, people are always all like, blood pythons have the hardest hit. Like if you get bit by blood, they put their whole body behind it. Another thing too is, we were working with so many imports at that point that everything was a nasty animal.
Yeah.
How do you find your guys, man? You are so many generations into these guys. I mean, I've always found Borneos to me have been the calmest. How do you feel them compared to anything else in that whole?
The whole thing. Well, they're all very individual. Everybody says Sumatran shorttails are the best right out of the egg, and they behave the best. And I've noticed that too. But I've had some nasty Sumatrans. I kind of stopped working on temperament. I don't breed two nasty animals together. If an animal's like not nasty, but a real defensive animal and a real defensive animal, even if I wanted to pair them, I won't, because they will just come out to be like hell on wheels. But over the years, I just don't mind them wild. I'm not picking them up and sitting on my couch with them, and I don't really sell to pet people. Like my stuff's not that cheap, and like I said, I don't know if it sounds rude, but I'm kind of doing it for me, and then hopefully I can help other people out. So I don't mind when their temperament's not great. And my stuff, to this day, I have stuff that I can pick up, handle it with no issue. It's probably if I spent more than 3 minutes with them, they'll start wiggling and wanting to get away from me because they're just not they're not used to being held for 5 minutes at a time. But Yeah, Borneos, they're pretty decent. Reds can be Borneos. So this is how I see it, and it's all individual and all that stuff. Sumatrans are good when they're mean or nasty or defensive, whatever you want to say. They strike out at you a lot. Borneos wiggle a lot. They like want to run. They flail, they wiggle, they slap. You know what I mean? But they eventually will bite. Reds just stand their ground and strike, and they will. If they're nasty, they will turn around and get you. All three can do all of that stuff, but that's how I find stuff. Reds will sit there and be tense as hell. And when you try to reach in, they'll just, they'll go at you. Borneos will let you scoop them up, but then be like, get the hell off me. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I see them.
I got a story time for Matt and you, obviously, Dave, but this relates to Matt, and I want to talk to Matt about this. So shout out to my boy, and this is somebody who you've inspired quite a bit. My boy Matt from O'Malley's Morph.
What's up, Matt?
So I brought my good buddy Matt on the other month. It's about been a couple months. No, it was in October. It was about a month ago. So, anyways, I brought him on. Good friend of mine, man. I seen him transition from the ball python game into the short tail game, and he's doing really well. But he told me about a situation. Not actually him. You know who Dan Magano is? Do you know who Dan?
Yeah, I saw the show with Dan and him on there. Dan's a really good friend. Yeah, I know Matt pretty well. I've had some good private message conversations with Matt. Never really met him yet, but yeah, I know Dan. Dan's a good friend. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Matt was exactly who I thought he was going to be when I met him. And this is nothing against Dan. I love Dan. Dan is fucking hilarious. Probably one of the nobody makes me laugh as much as Dan does when it comes to stories and shit on Instagram. But I was very confused by this, Matt. I was wondering if you could help me out. I walked up to Dan at Tinley, right? And of course, pissed off because he hasn't sold anything. And I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "Dude, you're telling me how no one's buying this shit." And I'm like, "Well, fuck, listen, I want to bring you back on the show. I want to bring you back on the show with O'Malley, with Matt." He's like, "Oh man, I think he's mad at me right now." I'm like, "Why is he mad at you?" He's like, "I don't know. He sent me some snakes and they're beautiful and everything, but a couple of them are very snippy. Like they and he said snippy. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, they're just mean son of a bitches. And I'm like, dude, I was like, but they're babies. He's like, yeah, they're babies. And I didn't want to say anything, but I'm like, why the fuck does that matter? Like they grow out of it. But Dan specifically wants to work with like calm, like I guess everything he holds back is like the non-snippiest and very like calm. And I didn't really get to dig Dan too much on that, but I want to ask you why anyone would want to be so careful about having anything aggressive as a baby when they grow out of it at some point. I don't understand the gap there with that.
Well, yeah, Dan is someone who really cares about temperament, and I applaud him for that. But
I love Dan, by the way. I love you, Dan.
Oh yeah, and Dan has a lot of pride in everything he does. Me, I don't care. I don't care about that so much. If Borneos and Bloods, they had a bad reputation. They're not nearly as bad as what people say. I mean, back in the day, the wild caught ones, and everybody was keeping them wrong. So, of course, they were extremely nasty and crazy. And, yeah, I still have individuals that are very difficult to deal with, and they can just be insane. But Dan cares about the temperament, so he breeds for temperament, where I got two, like I said, I won't breed two, like I said, very defensive animals together just because I'm like, I know what the outcome will be. It'll be insane. But even one defensive animal, they can come out crazy. I hatched my one and only red blood clutch this year. I did a pixel, which is a petite golden eye, to it actually wound up being head albino to a golden head albino golden eye. Everything in the clutch just bites everything that moves. Like even like if you go in with a glove, usually snakes, that's how you can tell how crazy a short tail is. Usually the heat of your hand is really what bothers them, seeing that hot hand come in. So if you put on a glove, even a little rubber dip Home Depot glove is something I'll use on one hand. They generally don't bite that. Unless it's like, whatever, you squeeze them or you handle them wrong. These all will just keep striking at it and all that stuff. And like I said, the mom is great. Right. The pixel dad, he's not so great. But I didn't think they would come out that crazy. But that can be worked out. I'm not the guy to work that out though. Like when they get sold, they're gonna get. I'm gonna tell the person, hey, this is an animal that it strikes a lot. You're gonna have to work with it a lot. You know what I mean? That's what you're getting with me. Dan, he really cares about that stuff. And like I said, that's good. Dan also came up a lot from talking to Kara. Kara really works on her temperaments too. Like she breeds beautiful red blood animals. And it's crazy to think that she's also put a lot of work into the temperament of the animal as well.
Who'd you say? I'm sorry. What was the name you just said?
Kara Norris. The bloodpythons.com. She's
Ooh, wow.
yeah. So
Well, what is it? Overseas, I believe in Russia, they used to line breed foxes generation after generation to make them more hospitable, make them more like dogs. I worked for that. So every species different, but the reality is you probably could breed temperament out or temperament into an animal depending on the parents.
absolutely, and I think you do. And when I used to, basically what I think it is with my animals now is I used to handle them more and really kind of care about the temperament. Now it's busyness, and I don't mind just observing the animal. The only time they get held is to put in their, check them out once in a while and put them in the holding tub when I'm cleaning. So to me, I don't mind seeing an animal be as wild as it, like, well, I don't want them to be, I don't want to sound like, I don't like getting bit. I'm not someone who gets bit a lot. I don't enjoy it. I'm not a tough guy about it. If I don't see it biting me, I'm fine. If I see it biting me, I do what mostly people do, and I look like a sissy. You flinch back, you know what I mean? You do all that stuff. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't care and I'm a tough guy. But I don't if I'm working with stuff and I know it's not great to just scoop up, I take one of them little gloves on one hand and one hand there, and I go in and scoop it up, and I have no issue working with them. There's so many people I think that work with blood and short tails that will say it's like a problem snake, and they're always just trying to go in. And I'm guessing they're trying to work with the temperament, but it gets them so stressed out that it just makes a bad situation for both of them. And I think if you just went in with that non-hot hand to scoop them up, and as long as they don't like to be, I think most snakes at this point don't like to be touched on the back or the spine, and short tails especially, they want to be scooped under. As soon as you put your hand on the back of that spine, they'll start wiggling and freaking out a little bit. You know what I mean? As long as you're trying to do it the right way, I don't think you're going to have that bad of a time. Like I said, I've got animals that I know 100% if I go in two bare hands and I go in, they're going to strike at me. And if I get them up, they're going to try to turn around and strike at me. But that one stupid little glove on my left hand, I go and get them under. They can look at my forearm and they don't try to bite me. And then if I touch them with the other hand, they will kind of jolt and try to see what it is, but I can put them in the holding container and they're pretty good to go.
Matt, can I ask you a question? I'm so sorry.
Sure. No.
Did you ever work with a certain snake or know of a certain snake or species of snake that likes to be held? I don't think any, and what I'm thinking is I don't think any snake gives two shits of you holding it. I think it wants to be left, especially a ball python, right? That's why I love a ball python. It needs zero interaction with anything. It doesn't want to interact with you, but it'll still eat. It'll still, do the job. You know what I mean? I just don't understand anyone who thinks like, it's therapeutic for the snake for you to have it with you while you're watching a movie or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think a snake cares for that. I think snakes want to just be left alone.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools of thought about everything in reptiles nowadays, YouTube and everything. But I think if a snake is decent, you know what I mean, it's not striking at you, you can do that. It's tolerating you. It's just tolerant of what you're doing. It's not feeling threatened. But I don't in any way, shape, or form think any snake necessarily they don't want to be held. You don't walk into the room or wherever you're keeping
it. Let me out. Let me hold me.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. And I know people want to believe it, and they,
I need a hug.
And listen, I don't not with snakes. I don't think they have that.
Dogs, yes.
Yeah, they're not there. And if your snake is great and you think it's around your neck and snuggling your ear, I mean, that's great. But I just think it's tolerant and it doesn't feel threatened. So it's just doing what it would do if you had it in a new surrounding. It's checking things out. It's moving around. It's comfortable. So
my biggest thing, what you mentioned just now, is like how a snake would tolerate something, but how do you not know that it's not stressed the fuck out either? You know what I mean? Like it like, okay, that's great. Like there's so many species that won't just snap and attack something. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, just because something tolerates something doesn't mean it's necessarily okay to do it. That's my biggest thing,
Well, the good thing about short tails being like I said, like a very high strung snake is they're going to let you know. Ball pythons might be stressed out while they're crawling around. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of I'm not trying to shit on them again. It's kind of a dumber snake. And I'm not saying short tails are super intelligent. It's not a scrub python or a king cobra, but they're so nervous with everything. They're letting you know. You're not holding it, and I mean, if it's super tense, maybe someone would think, oh, it's good. But I mean, as soon as you make a move, if it's super tense, it's going to spring load out probably. So maybe you'll get fooled, but you'll find out real fast because they definitely will shit on you. They'll definitely do this flail thing that like no other snake does, where you feel their whole spine pressing against you, and they will bite you. So you're not really going to get confused by them.
So how about this? So this is something that we've always said in the hobby, the next ball python. Everybody always says, what's the next ball python? And for the longest time, we know there's no next ball python. We've all accepted there's no next ball python. But for the longest time, with Tracy's collection being what it was, all the new mutations they had down there and still have down there now, there was talk in the town for a while there that bloods were going to be the next ball python. Now, with species like them, carpet pythons too, where there is gene diversity, it is definitely a smaller buying pool, because I think that whole idea that you're going to get bit and maybe get bit a lot keeps people away from certain species. This is a two-part question, buddy. Do you think that's a bad rumor? And also, do you just not want your community to grow? Are you satisfied with where you guys are at and don't want a bunch of new people coming in and messing things up for you?
Okay, so I'll answer the first part first. The second part. You might have to remind me of the first part. The community grew a ton. It's crazy. Like there's a Kara made a blood group on Facebook, and it was like happened in it felt like overnight. I mean, at one point it was a couple hundred of us, and now there's I don't know how many. It's thousands and thousands. It might be over 10,000 by now. So it's grown, and I don't care about it being small or big. I wouldn't want them as big as ball pythons, but just because of all the different dramas and personalities. But I feel safe because Borneos are my thing, and I don't think Borneos are ever going to be on the level of red blood pythons. Red blood pythons would have the biggest threat to become extremely popular, and I already have seen it. Even when I was going to Tinley and other shows, I went to Daytona a couple of years ago too, where it felt like a lot of ball python breeders had at least a tier or two just full of golden eyes, T-negative albino red bloods. So they had like a little bit of red bloods. The reason why is because everybody just thinks, blood pythons 4 or 5 feet, it's a good rack animal. The thing is you could take your nastiest ball python and put it up against a half defensive blood python, and it's night and day difference. I mean, if you're not used to something like that going nuts as it gets to be an adult or sub-adult, like a red blood python, it's going to scare the shit out of you. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to big dog people and all that stuff, but I've dealt with some 10, 11 foot retics that don't scare me as much as a 4 foot blood python going bananas in its cage. It's just like, how do I grab it? How do I go about it? Why won't it stop? You know what I mean? It's a lot to deal with, and bloods hide stuff very well too. And they're not very tolerant of mistakes. So they drop off a cliff real fast. That respiratory infection creeps up on you. And then now the next step is treating the respiratory infection. Now you got to get a needle into the snake, and they don't do well when you try to hold them still. So you got to figure out ways to do it. And, I've had my own methods, but in the beginning I used to sit there and try to hold them still, get a friend to hold them still. And it was a nightmare. I mean, you're getting showered at the one end. It's trying to freak out. You're literally breaking 22 gauge needles, or not 22 gauge, just small, 27 gauge needles. You're breaking, inch and a half. They're just snapping it off because they're doing this with their body. They're breaking off in their skin. I mean, it can be a nightmare. So as much as people want it to be because of the size and the colors, red bloods are very appealing, and they're only becoming more and more popular with new mutations and combinations are coming out. I think they are growing, and they will continue to grow, but it will never get to even close to the place of the next ball python. And I would think DCI boas are already kind of there for a Boyd to be the next thing. I mean, they're kind of the next most popular and workable.
Do you want to know who my boa guy is? Like, do you want to know Matt? Do you want to know who my number one boa guy is?
Who?
Right there, Dave Levin.
God damn it, man. I thought you were going to say somebody else. I wanted somebody else. I was going to say Del Bono. Can we have Del Bono on soon, by the way? I want to talk to Del Bono.
You do whatever you want, bro. This is, come on. Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, Dave has taught me and showed me enough boa shit where I'm hard on forever, bro. Like I'm committed to the boa game, bro, for sure.
Yeah, those are awesome. I've definitely in the last, I guess, like 7-8 years kind of jumped into boas. I had the Amarillo for a while, but I would love to add more true red tails. But space and I don't want to go too crazy with them. I have a really nice pair of Guyanas and a really nice pair of Surinamers. But yes, I could see myself kind of going boa crazy, but I'm holding back.
I don't want to jerk off this episode too much, but we do have a heavy type of situation going on in the live chats right now. And it's funny because me and Dave talked about this individual and I told him, listen, he already came on my show and he said it loud and clear. He's never doing any other podcast ever again. Maybe that could change because I would love to get this guy on my show or on this show. I can tell you that much. Shout to Elijah Armis, man. I'm telling you right now, Juggernaut Reptiles. This guy right here, bro. This is, I mean, before I knew of any kind of short tail of anything, I found this guy. This guy introduced me to so many other species besides the ball python shit, but was also working with some really awesome ball python shit. So shout to Elijah Armis, man.
Elijah's awesome. He's every time I've spoke to Elijah, it's a great conversation. That guy absolutely killed it this year. I think he had for blood people, all short tail people, he had Dan actually had a solid year. He killed it for Borneos. He'd be my pick for Borneos, but Elijah altogether for what he's done with the red bloods this year, I mean, he went nuts and he really knocked it out of the park. I'm super happy for him. He's a real good dude. So glad to see all the stuff. I mean, shoot over to his page and see some of that stuff he created. It's outrageous.
I mean, how do you feel? I mean, how do you feel right now, though, Matt? I mean, overall, obviously, something that you could hold heavy on. You see people like Elijah and Dan with their work. How does that make you feel?
Good. That's the good thing about short tail community is I don't know about other people. I feel like with Dan, with Elijah, with like Rob Christian, with Frank Good, all these people that I'm friends with that are still heavily involved, we're happy for each other when you do good. No one's jealous, and if you're excited when you see something good, and it might make you want to work harder. But I don't think anything's ever jealousy. You know what I mean? It just kind of gets your wheels turning. You want to work harder. You want to try to make stuff, but it's never like, damn, he beat me to it. That's so much better than what I did or anything like that. You know what I mean? So and I feel like we're all in each other's corner for the most part, not everybody, but the core group of us that all know each other and have been around forever. I feel like we're always there to help each other and we're always excited to see what people want to do. And like I said, I don't ever like, especially like I said, from the main group, I never get any hints of like jealousy or he beat me to that, or, why did he hit it first, or why is he selling this and I'm not? That kind of thing. And like I said, I will gladly promote people. If someone comes to me and tries to buy from me, they'll ask me a question like, coming for Borneos, I don't have a lot to do with ultras. I have a few ultras, but I really want an ultra. I don't do ultras. Well, I want to buy from you. So show me what you got. I'll right away tell them, if you really want an ultra, I will point you in the direction of good people with ultras. I don't want you to just buy from me. I'm always like, that's awesome. You'd like to buy from me. Well, get what you really want. And then if you like something I got, come back to me. You know what I mean? So I constantly am writing out a list of people that are awesome in short tails and sending them, hopefully the people follow up on it. They sending them good people like Elijah, like Kara, like all the people I was with, like Dan.
So listen, I told Dave before we went live, Philly guys, man, those motherfuckers, one in a million. Those guys, you can't get much back. You can't get much past a fucking Philly guy. I have uncles from Philly, and they're on top of all over everything. So let me ask you this: have there ever been a point in time, Matt, where you've had a pivot from somebody, like maybe somebody you thought that was that person that maybe, hey, like we're in it together, but you saw otherwise, and because that's also reality of things. Like jealousy is a part of the hobby together. Like, you know what I mean? And especially when you are a part of the social media realms of thing, which that's really not a part of your fucking thing. Even though you are in it, you don't really put too much thought behind it. But with the YouTube world and even the Instagram world, there's so much kind of type of political type of, I guess, not standard. What am I trying to say? But like an image that people try to hold and try to ring on top of. I mean, I'm just saying, what do you do in a case like that? You know, or what have you done in cases like that throughout your career when you feel like something isn't genuine that's close to what you have going on?
I haven't had any like major fallouts with anybody, and anybody that probably would I had any kind of communication or relationship with that I turned around and didn't like what they did or didn't like them anymore was probably almost already on the outs. I'd like to think I have a pretty good judgment of character.
Right.
And most of the people that are in it for the right reasons. You can tell kind of right away. They don't really flip too much.
I agree.
In the short tail world, at least, you know what I mean? And other stuff, I've seen it. But yeah, and I don't feel the need to go banging on their door unless I thought they were directly, you know, trashing me or people that I know that are good people. And I'd have to have proof of that. I wouldn't just go off of like hearsay. You know what I mean? I would, you know, if I had to know, I'd come to them and say, hey, what's going on, and approach them normal. But yeah, I really don't, like I said, if someone's loud, and I've definitely given some people a chance. I mean, if you ask other blood people, they would say for how I look and everything, I'm very tolerant of a lot of people, where some of them aren't. They're very, you know, standoffish right away. They see something. I kind of really try to give everybody a chance. But if I start seeing their true colors, I'll just fade away from them, or, you know, leave them where they are. You know, it doesn't take me to have to tell them what's what, or I don't got to go talk to anybody. That's nonsense to me. I mean, like I said, I just kind of leave them where they are. I think they would get the idea.
Yeah. So
respect.
You know, I want to talk communities for a second because, you know, when we make the comment about, you know, just how great your community is, the reality is there's a lot of great communities. I think the thing with, you know, because everything always comes back to ball pythons based on the size of a community and a hobby. You know, I do find that sometimes in the ball python community, you get regional communities. I feel like there's a really good Texas community. Now, where we used to have a lot of drama on ball pythons, now I don't know if it's because we're all just making money right now or not, but I feel like the drama is really not that bad. I feel like it's small occasions. It's nothing really consistent. I find across the board on most species right now, in most communities, people seem pretty happy in the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not out there posting a lot, but I am on Facebook and Instagram, and I like scrolling and reading and stuff. But I kind of agree with you. I'm sure there's plenty of it, and someone's over here probably cursing us out for saying it's pretty good right now. But usually there's always a couple big beefs you hear about, and people are following. But yeah, none of that stuff's really, to my knowledge, going on. You know what I mean? Where it's out and about, it's like, oh, these two guys in the carpet community, or these two guys in a boa community are going at it, and they're, you know, big players or whatever you'd want to say. I feel like, you know, for the most part, it's not crazy. And with ball pythons, if someone's going at it and they are even halfway big, you always hear about it, and people start jumping sides, and it gets crazy. I think
especially if you're into drama, you're going to know about all the drama, right? It's going to fucking like, that's when you're like, that's obviously what you're looking for. That's what you're attracted to. So Dave, not really knowing what the fuck's really happening, shows you that Dave's not into drama. Dave's not out there poking the drama. So I always commend Dave for that. Dave always has something positive to say whenever there's a negative topic on. I think Dave has a great positive overlay, and I gotta love Dave for that.
Well, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and everyone's going to hate this. Even if I don't like you, I'm going to treat you like I like you. So
I hate that shit. Because you know why? Because I wish that power, I don't know about you, Matt, but I don't have that power, which is my weakness. Because unfortunately, if you don't have the power of being fake, people know all your moves. They know when you're mad. They know when you want to fucking not like them. And I don't care if you don't know. I mean, if you know I don't like you, I typically don't care. But as I'm growing into this, you know, moves got to be smarter. You know what I mean? And I'm noticing that Dave has been a part of something huge where every move he makes needs to be smart. But even before that, I feel like you just try to detach from any kind of thing that's dramatic going on, Dave. I feel like,
you know, I talk shit in the background. You know, Chad's my outlet for shit talk, and we shit talk everybody.
I'm in that realm. I've heard some stuff.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's just, I mean, where does it really get us? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think we should all fuck with each other a little bit. I mean, we don't all need to be coddled all the time. No. I think people just need to know how to take a joke every once in a while. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I do remember the early days, and I do think that money always plays a big factor in it. I think that, when you create a very cutthroat community, and like you said, when things start not going well, especially financially with people, it brings out the worst in them sometimes. But again, like I said, across the board, and I don't know what it's been, but I feel like the last few years, just the whole community has just felt like a community. We get our little bit of drama, but nothing really that bad.
Yeah, I see dramas, but nothing like insane. But yeah, MJ, like you, I'm not like that. I guess I'm more like Dave, where I feel like I'm nice to a fault sometimes, and where I don't feel the need to go march up to someone and let them know I don't like you. Or one of the worst, and I used to see it with some people and some good people. I'm not going to like mention names. Is one of the things I would hate the most is when people would sell. Their selling point would start off shitting on all the other people in the community or that are good. This person sucks because of this. You got to watch out for this. He's got mites. Yeah. His stuff doesn't breed that true. He's lying about, this.
That so happens today as we speak, Matt.
No, I know. But that would be like, I'm not saying like a nobody trying to get off the ground, which that's still wrong. I'm talking about like a known breeders using that as a focal point to have killer stuff on the table rather than say, hey, I put this into this, check out, what's going on here. Like, that's such an easier way to sell your animal. You know what I mean? To be excited about what you do, not to go start down the list and say, this person does this with their collection. I heard they're dirty. I heard they got mites. I heard this person lied about this genetic. They're not, and I've seen that throughout time so much from people I was just stunned from. And I'm like, I can't believe like that's their go-to point. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way they're getting stuff done. Like, that's how they're doing it. It's,
Can I hold on, Dave? I gotta say this is gonna be funny. So listen, Matt, there has been a point in time where I just wanted Dave's I wanted to know I was friends with Dave, because Dave for a long time just never I didn't know where I stood with Dave for a while, and it just made me like, God damn, I don't think this guy's gonna like me. I don't think, because here's the thing, I would ask him to come on the show, and he's like, sorry, bud, I got too much. He would always tell me I got too much going on. I'm like, fuck, and it would always bother me, right? Until there was a one time where I won something at a US ARC, and I'm not gonna say who I won it from, but I won something, and he's like, hey, MJ, and he called me in front of all the people at US ARC, was like, hey, I want to talk to you, and I was like so happy. I was like, oh my God, Dave called me. And so I walk over there. He's like, just so you know, that snake you just won at US ARC is more like.
You don't want to talk about that kind of stuff, man. That's the kind of things I tell you to be nice. See? You can't use my name in stories when there's negativity, motherfucker. I don't want to hear what gene that is. I want to hear nothing about it.
Now he doesn't like you anymore, see?
I remember everything about that moment. You're welcome. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, but the other thing that you guys were saying, like, Dave,
I never said who I got it from, though. Like, that's
much respect.
Thank you. Listen, you were just, but I think here's the thing. I naturally, if anyone else would have told me that, I would have been like, you fucking hater. You're a fucking hater. Like, I would have got so mad. But the fact that he was talking to me, I was like, okay, maybe this thing is going to die. By the way, it's alive and it's breeding. It's doing fine, asshole. But I'm just saying. Dave, I love you, bro. That was cool.
But Dave, back to what you were saying, like how you say you vent with Chad and all, like we all got that. Like, obviously.
Oh, look at that.
I'm not a guy who goes up to someone and says all my opinions. I don't feel the need to. But yeah, like Keith McPeak, Eric Burke, Owen McIntyre, Rob Stone, like that's kind of our circle. We're always venting to each other. You know what I mean? Doing our little, talking and going over opinions and all that stuff. So yeah, you got to be able to vent to somebody about all the craziness in the hobby.
You got it, man. I mean, I've got like 4 people I text every night. MJ just became the 5th guy recently. I've been sending my weird shit to MJ. Sometimes I say some shit talk here and there, but nothing bad. Just
mostly weird.
Yeah. That's it, man. I might make a Twitter page now. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it.
You should.
Nah, maybe. But no, I think I think this hobby is whatever you want to get out of it. And here's the reality of things. And honestly, I mean this, MJ. I find anybody who wants to talk to me in this hobby, it's humbling for me because Same with Matt, man. We came in with a passion. You came in with a passion.
Yeah.
Where Matt is where he's at right now, when he got in the hobby, I don't know if that was necessarily the goal. It might have seemed like an unrealistic expectation, but you kind of came in, you did you, focused on your passion, and now look at you. You got people around you that you love, and you're enjoying yourself. You get out of this whatever you want to get out of it, man. And like I said, I think when you have good people around you and you got a good energy, you're just surrounded by it. But again, there were a lot of times over the years I've been in the background wishing people wanted to talk to me. Now people want to talk to me, man. I'm gracious. I'm happy people want to ask me questions.
Dude.
Yeah, I feel like everybody wants to talk to you, Dave. I feel like you were easier to read what was going on when you just had a mustache. I dig the beard more, but it's harder to tell what you're thinking. It definitely is. It's more of a mystery.
I try to keep people guessing, buddy. I'll be honest, man. I'm not sure what this vibe is. People don't even know I'm really even smiling anymore. But the beard's good. Yeah, I'm loving the beard, man. Hey, you look good too. You've always looked good, man. You shaped the fuck out of that thing.
Well, my face is, dude. It's where I do billboards, so I notice how red my face is. It usually is a little more red, but dude, the wind burn has been crazy out there. Like I'm looking, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm red. So
getting cold, man. I remember living in Buffalo, man.
Philadelphia.
Can we kind of talk about what it is that you do that financially supports you have kids. I see you're a coach of a football team. Am I right?
Assistant coach. I can't. I would love to coach a team. I don't have that confidence. I see what the head coach has to do even for a youth football team, and that's insane. So.
Yeah, but still props to you for that, because for somebody who's like, man, my childhood was Pop Warner football. I'll never forget those fucking legendary days on the field. So I understand what it's like just to even be close to that. That must be awesome.
Yeah. I played, and my son playing, and he's definitely better than I was. He loves,
I hope the same.
Yeah, but so I've been doing billboards. I put up billboards for the last 20 years. That's my occupation. That's my day job. So
wow.
Yeah. I'm really not that proud of that, but you know what?
I was gonna say, like, I mean, are you? Is it your own company, or you work for somebody?
No.
Okay, so I got it.
So I work for they bought us, so I'm grandfathered in. I've been doing it for 20 years. I used to work for it's a family company, but they were Philly, Jersey, and Delaware, and they had a big footprint. It wasn't small by any means. Called Steam Outdoor. They sold to Lamar Outdoor, which is big. It's all over the place. I'm pretty sure there's probably Lamar billboards where both of you guys are. Where, like I said, Steam was more just Philly, Jersey, Delaware. Lamar's everywhere, and we still do Philly, Jersey, Delaware, and now Maryland. It's a bigger footprint. But yeah, I've been doing that forever, climbing boards up to 110 feet in the air. My main job there is installs, so I'm installing billboards. We cut trees for the shots.
Shit.
All the construction, though, I don't do construction, but all that stuff. So like, it's a physical job. It's brutal. It could be stressful at times. This time of year, we're just nonstop busy. It's cold. It's windy. You just kind of want to rest, and you got to keep getting out the truck and putting up billboards, and they act like you're saving a life, but it's just an ad for a supermarket. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I got two kids. I got a 14-year-old son. I got an 8-year-old daughter. My son is just a sports nut. He could care less about snakes and reptiles. I mean, he's not afraid of them, but he don't care about them. My daughter, on her own, loves animals, so she's pretty into it. She watches on her own. She's a kid, so she's just constantly in front of the iPad, and she already was into the snakes. Like, she's not always down there bothering me. She loves wolves. She wants to run a wolf farm, so she's gonna have to make. She's gonna have to make that because there's no such thing. But she wants to be a wolf farmer. That's her favorite animal. She loves wolves.
There's a wolf. There's a sanctuary in Montana. I know that. Like, there's like over 60 of them.
You could do that in PA too, but you got to be a certain age. So definitely, when I can take her to see actual live wolves, I will do that. But on her own, I just heard her listening at nighttime, and I'm like, "What are you watching?" Because I heard like the bull snakes and substrates for, and she goes, "Dad, do you use perlite or vermiculite?" And I'm like, she doesn't know this kind of stuff. And she was watching Snake Discovery like that. She likes that show. So she watches that show. And I was like, I had to look at it because I don't love a lot of YouTube. So I was like, yeah, I actually do like this show. I met Emily and Ed. Someone else knew them a long time ago. They seem like good people, and they run a good show. Like, I don't tune in, but I see her watching it, and I'll watch it with her. And I'm like, oh, it's educational, and it's pretty lighthearted. So it's not, anything that I would approve of.
I mean, we're not their demographic, buddy. I mean, I hate to say it. I live out in the middle of nowhere. We got 100 people in our town. I was playing cornhole. Guy had his daughters over. They knew that I had reptiles. They asked me if I knew who Snake Discovery was. So,
oh, really? Yeah, well, that's good. Well, like I said, it could be. All in all, I'm glad she's watching that because it could have just been like Jay, and I'd have been like, turn it off. You know what I mean? Like, don't watch that. That's not going to teach you anything. So
that's good parenting right there. Now let's just, I mean, listen, going back to how I was mentioning for any of the new keepers listening and wanting to expand and grow, how space should be important, right? Space is something that you should be very considerable about. But also life happens, right? You're a father of how many kids?
2.
Are you married?
Nah, divorced now. So
okay. And by the way, I can only imagine. I was a goddamn golden child growing up, bro. Like I raced motocross, I played every sport, spoiled up to 14, and then my mom and dad got a divorce, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? It was very like, but it was really hard on my dad, hard on the whole family, right? So divorce, respect what you've gone through, what you're going through with divorce, but people don't understand that type of life could hit them at any moment, right? How did that ever affect the animals? What you've gone through personal life wise and whatnot?
Oh yeah.
Did that ever affect what you had going on with the animals? And I'm curious what you did to go through that and whatnot, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, it was nerve wracking to me knowing that I was like approaching that, figuring like this is going to happen. And meanwhile, I have a giant collection. I have kids. I have a job. Yeah, animals definitely suffer. You can't get down there as much because you're doing things and you're figuring stuff out.
Right.
And then every divorced guy I know in the reptile hobby would like,
Pretty
that was
bad.
it for them. They would get an apartment. They were done.
Yeah.
They would spread their collection out. They would barely be in it. They would say, I have to leave. So I had to sit down and think about what I was going to do when it was a reality. And I knew I had to sell my house. I said, if I want to do this, I have to buy a house. And I was lucky enough to get my money together and buy a house. And like I said, I'm still running off of, I kept my full collection. I want to keep my full collection and it's going well so far, but I know anything can happen to where that can, dive off a cliff and I got to downsize some. And I don't want it to have to ever come there. I mean, I'll never, at this point, I can honestly say, I'd say I'm a lifer. I'm too interested in this hobby I'm not a guy that's ever going to just have 3 animals. I'm going to have some sort of a room of animals no matter what. Even when I get to older age and decide not to breed, I'll just have, get different species probably and be interested into it. Every day, like I said, there's a lot of things that interest me, but every day I'm thinking about reptiles, thinking about doing reptile related stuff. That's the main thing I'm checking out online. So, yeah, it definitely is it's a stressful time. It's hard to get down to the basement. It's hard to decide. It was hard. I never thought I was moving again. I thought I was locked at that house. I was happy there. And then all of a sudden now I got to move a collection of snakes again. I have to try to time that out the right time so it's not dead of winter. I did it dead of summer. It was a nightmare. It was the boom of the housing market. I couldn't get a U-Haul truck for a while, and then I couldn't get a big size one. And then when I was finally able to do it, it was in the heat wave, and my closing was a week late, and I had like 10 of my friends to help. And if it went 1 week later, which it did, I was going to have like nobody. So I had one person helping me a day for 6 days, moving my house and my snake collection. It was chaos while I'm going through all kinds of, turmoil and feelings and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's a nightmare. I mean, going through a divorce someone should, I guess, write a book on, you can't really navigate around that, but yeah, I guess more people should talk about it because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, guys and girls that are heavily in this hobby. And when you go through something like that, it really changes things.
I mean, here's the thing, man, like what they say, half of marriages fail, right? But
yeah,
I mean, as good as any, I'm a married guy and I'm happy as shit, but still, like, I'm also very concerned about my wife's happiness, and I don't want to sound like a simp, but like, as much as I do things, because dude, here's the thing, she gives me a lot of freedom, right? But that kind of like makes me realize, like, even though she lets me do my thing, I gotta make sure she's taken care of too, right? And I feel like how easy it could be for somebody to get caught into what they're doing and not just think two shits about their wife or husband. Doesn't matter who it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. As much as I grow into this, I know it's because my wife lets me do my thing. And I always let her feel special for that. You know what I mean? But also, you just never fucking know, man. Like you always, I mean, it's like an evacuation plan. Like you should always be ready, especially when you have animals. Because I can't even tell you how many people like yourself, not like yourself, but people like you mentioned, who they got a divorce and it was over. Like it was like I was like, what do you mean? I was like, what? Like, yeah, man, sorry. She's taking half of it. I'm like, what? I'm like, how do you not like figure something? He's like, I can't do nothing about it. And I'm like, dude, that's fucking nuts. Like scratching my head, like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Like, but and then they're gone and never hear from them again.
Yeah, well, I'll also say this. Not that I was ever ignorant to people, like to think that divorce isn't tough when I was married, but you think like, if they got kids, it's one way. It's like, it's different for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're the same age with the same kids. It just, every divorce is different and how it affects you with custody, support, money, how things are going to get spread apart.
Everything.
Like you said, like you would think like, what do you mean it's over? Like, don't you care? Sometimes it's just out of your hands, and it's shocking that you're just one day, you're in control of everything and you're just told this is what you have to do, or you'll be held legally responsible. It's like one day I was in a relationship and one day I was like, I could be considered, I could get arrested for this now, like for something that, you know what I mean? Something as simple as being in a relationship. And if I don't abide by this time, which I plan to, I'm being threatened that I can be, imprisoned or have to, face charges. It's wild. And like I said, it's just so much to hit you at once. And I think the thought of me losing all my reptiles for, like I said, Dave, you saying how hard I worked, and I appreciate that. It was obviously you're going through all these other things. And it's like, that would just be one more thing that's crushing. Like I did all this just to one day just have to up and pack it up and go. Right? And I was like, it's worth fighting for. And a lot of friends were even like, I give you credit for doing it, but it just sounds impossible, man. It sounds like you're putting a lot on yourself. And I said, yeah, but if I let it go, it's going to be, you might think it's easier because I'm letting it go, but it's going to be that much harder later on for me. It's going to be devastating. It's going to hit me all at once, and it's going to suck. And, they're like, can't you get back into it? I'm like, you can, but you won't get all that stuff back, and it won't be the same, and you're going to regret a lot. So I'd rather fight for it now. And if I have to make adjustments, I'll make adjustments as I go along. And so far it's worked out, but I'm still very fresh into it. So I'm still fighting a good fight. And like I said, I got to start maybe trying to get on and sell animals in this tough time, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, everyone deals with their own thing. I mean, I did my divorce years ago. I put it mostly on myself than her. I wasn't happy with me. I wasn't where I wanted to be. Nothing was working out the way I wanted it for me. It just didn't work out. But I do put it on myself. But, one of two things, too, in the hobby I found over the years with people who have dealt with divorce is you either engulf yourself with your animals, or your animals are your last thought at the end of the day. Sometimes it's hard to have a balance, man. Not every case is the same case. Everything's a case-to-case basis. So,
100%.
You make the best of it. Some people just have to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a shame because you do see a lot of good people in the high. I mean, I don't know what went on in their relationship, but it does suck to see someone walk away or have to walk away for that reason. It just like, because if it was still going, they would still be in the hobby or whatever, you know what I mean? Or it wouldn't take them so much time to get back.
Yeah. I'm a positivity guy. I say it all the time. Here's the reality. When things don't work out and one person has made up their mind, sometimes the other person can't do anything about it. Also, the reality is, what they're not happy about is something that you may never be able to fill that gap. You got to accept the fact that they've made that decision for themselves. Life is relationships. I've had friends, I've had girlfriends, you just kind of roll with it. As long as you're happy at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Oh, should we talk about snakes some more? Because I want to talk about
we should.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to answer your first part of your question, which I don't remember when you asked me that crazy.
Fuck that first part, because your answer on the second part gave me 3 more things I want to ask you.
Well,
how about that? So first off, zoom in on those a little bit. I should have stalked you back a little more for one of your other litters, but we're going to talk bloods in a second. But your Brazilian MRLI, Like I said, I am one of these guys that will remember you for your animals. I might not always remember your name, but I'll remember animals. For you and me, your Brazilian Amarelli, of course, your ocelot project, your tri-stripe project, was in love with it, still in love with it right now. I remember when you were getting out of ball pythons, you had some pastel lesser clowns for sale at Hamburg and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you do remember that, yeah.
Animals, man. Animals are one of those things that I look at them, I remember people. I love your Brazilian Amarelli stuff. I believe, remind me, is it Barry Miller line on those guys?
Yeah, so I got them from Joel Diaz, and they came from Barry Miller. So yeah, they were my adults were 2008. Now what really sucks was this was a small litter. This was her 5th time laying for me. She had 2 perfect litters, 2 in a row slug litters, but they were bigger. So she laid those 3 live and 6 just duds, not stillborns, just slugs. And 2 weeks later, she was empty. She passed. She took a rat, held it down. Nothing looked wrong. I went in. She was upside down, and I was like, damn. Because I stupidly had 2 holdbacks from another litter, and someone offered me a good amount of money for the female, and I was looking at another project. So, of course, I took them up on it. So now I have 2 males, and I have those 3 babies. And I haven't even sexed them yet. So I'm hoping they're not going anywhere. I'm hoping at least one of them's a female because I don't have a female right now. So I'm kind of stuck and heartbroken at the same time with that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and just say it. I mean, that sucks. That comes with, I'm not even going to say just boa breeding. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
but the upside is you did produce a lot of animals over the last decade from that lineage. That lineage is now in a lot of good people's hands. So, where it sucks that you're in the position you are, man, do I fucking love those. And what is it? Psychotic Exotics, I think, bought out everything that was left from the Barry Miller line. I think directly from him. I chit chat with them every once in a while. I don't know what they're doing with it yet. That's another guy I'd love to have on the podcast in the future. But those animals are just one of those animals. You don't even have to be a locality guy in boas to appreciate those animals. Anytime a pattern isn't what it's supposed to be, I think it makes a beautiful animal. I love classics. I love wild type. I like when shit's a little different, though. I hate to say it, I'm an encyclopedia of mutations in the hobby across the board for all species because something about that just appeals to me, and that's what I've focused on the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I love them animals too, man. Them Amarylli are something else. And like I said, that was, as much as I like true red tails, I got them first because there was just something about, I like Bolivians too, and I want to get some nice Bolivians, but those South Brazilians just caught my eye, and I was just staring at them and searching for them. And luckily, Joel Diaz is a really cool dude, and he hooked me up. And like I said, I haven't talked to him in forever, but he was always an awesome guy to talk to. But yeah, he was always happy to see they worked out for me, and he'd always say he's kicking himself and he wants to get some offspring off me. And that's a crazy thing because I will just get emails, messages that them animals will get me 4 emails, messages, 4 or more a month, just asking me, random people, hey, when are you going to have these available? Do you have these available? And I'm just like, man, I wish I could have produced more of these. But at the same time, I'm also not someone who, I didn't want to, it's nice to have just a few and not overproduce the hell out of them. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why so many people are looking for them because they are more scarce. It's a little bit more exciting if you get your hands on them.
So I'm not going to say I'm a good salesman, but I will say this. Anytime anybody in the hobby that has ever asked me about Brazilian Amarelli, I immediately bring up your page. I screenshot it. I send it to them. I'm going to say maybe 2 out of those 4 people a month are my fault. And I do apologize.
There's no problem. I like talking to them. I feel bad because they want to be on a list. And I go, I stopped doing that listing so long ago because I used to take a list and take it seriously and put a name down on my notes in my phone and a date. And I get back to them and they would be like, nowhere to be found or at the time. So I stopped doing lists. But not just with them, I mean with everything. You know what I mean? Everybody, as soon as stuff hatches or you get a litter, everybody's like, I got money ready now. Knowing they're not going to get it down, then it's like, hey, okay, well now I have it. And they're like, yeah, the car's in the shop or, whatever it's, I got to ask my wife, whatever it is, like It's just funny that way. But yeah, them South Brazilian Amarylli, it's funny because I've talked to some people in the boa world who knew me from just them. It's kind of crazy, which I have no footprint in the boa world. It's crazy that people will be like, dude, you have them South Brazilians. So that's kind of wild.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's always, okay, fuck it. It's because I tell everyone in the boa community that I love your shit. I mean, that's it, man. I mean, you do a great job producing them every year, but honestly, there is not a boa guy that has ever brought up Brazilian Amarelli where I say, have you seen that stuff? Go
That's
look at
awesome.
these litters.
Thanks.
Because,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, well, the reduced pattern on them, the variability, and again, the lineage, I think it's a great litter. And, that is one unique thing about the boa community is there's the locality community. And right now, the locality community is actually killing it. Prices have gone up a little bit. Not that everything's about price, but one thing that price does say is that there is a want for what you're doing. It shows a demand. So yeah, your stuff right there, again, not many people are producing animals to that level in the country when it comes to that lineage.
Yeah, hopefully there's some females in that little 3 litter that lived, and if not, hopefully I get my hands on. I know a few people that I sold to that are doing well with them, so I'll get something back.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
I'm not out of the game for that yet, and I don't plan on being out of that. So like I said, that female, I love that female, and it was just, like you said, I've been in this long enough to know it happens, but it was just like it caught me out of nowhere because she was empty. She took a rat. It was one of them ones like sometimes you're expecting it. That was totally unexpected, and I was like, damn, that really hurts because I don't have another female that I know of. So that was kind of like shocking.
Yeah. No, and this is something I'd usually send in a private message, but back in the day when we were meeting at Hamburg, every once in a while, I was kind of building up myself, kind of getting going, and I was buying animals from you now and again to resell.
Yeah.
You gave me the opportunity to get those animals originally. I think both of us going into it didn't really even understand the value.
No, I definitely didn't.
Yeah.
You actually told me, dude, you're way too cheap on them. Like those are going to be valued. And then I think even the price you set it at
was
looking
low.
back at what I think was low. Yeah. So we were both off. You're right.
It was definitely one of those things that, the price you gave me initially, like, because I didn't really know what that market could do. And then the first show I went to, I set them out and people that came up to my table and they're like, because I had the 2 most reduced pattern ones not for sale. And when they started putting these crazy numbers on it, it was like, wow, there's clearly a worth here. But at that point in the hobby, not that those animals didn't exist, but like you hunting for Borneos at the first Hamburg show, sometimes things like that fall through the cracks. Sometimes they're not readily available. More rare is definitely more appealing to people. And again, I still think those animals are very special animals.
Yeah, I do love them animals a lot.
All right. I don't mean to raise my hand. I know MJ face. He looks like there's like words coming out of his mouth, but they're not. You got something, MJ? Because I feel like I'm ready for some MJ. Because then I'm gonna go back to some other stuff.
I'm just listening. I mean, fuck. I feel like I can't get anything in at this point. Just kidding.
You feel bad? Can you want to talk about red bloods and maybe talk about the impact that you think that the pied blood python project is going to have in that community moving forward?
Let's hit it. Let's do it.
Yeah, just like we were saying with red bloods, they would be that animal to go over. I didn't even think of the piebald, but yeah, that's going to get some people interested, and that's going to blow up. And I do think that will end up on a lot of ball python people's tables it's already going. And once that piebald gets rolling, it's going to explode in ways I'm not really into, but great for all the people carrying it. Because like I said, Elijah's doing it, Nick Bottini's doing it. They're all good guys, and there's other people doing it as well. So it'll be great for them, and it'll be good for red bloods too. But like I said, I do see a lot of people going to probably drop some pretty good money on stuff to just turn around and go, what is this thing doing? I got to get rid of it. And if you're buying piebalds, it won't be hard to get rid of that stuff.
No, I think that there's an impact that the pied mutation in general will have on a community. I do think it does a lot for ball pythons. Look at what it did in retics and still does in retics. The Burmese python pieds making their way in here, what they're doing. I think can take a species that maybe is on autopilot or stagnant and bring it to a new level, because people who don't understand mutations, when they see a pied ball at a show, they can't comprehend why it
Yeah.
looks like that. So I think pieds go a long way in every community.
Yeah, and like you were saying, red bloods definitely aren't stagnant, so it's going to blow up, and then with the possibility of like just selectively breeding red into that. I mean, a red and just white snake. That's, or you take T positive and just big orange red blotches with all that white. I mean, it's probably going to. I mean, it's very impressive now. I mean, I saw some people. It's so weird how quick people are to shit on something. They're like, I don't know why people are excited about this. It's brown. I'm like, yeah, but it's from the wild. I mean, you got to give it time to develop. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, look at how far, like you said, even I felt like when retic pieds came out, people were excited, and then quickly they weren't really on the radar, and because it wasn't, people just didn't work with it a lot yet. You know what I mean? And I think pied retics had a reputation, they were kind of nasty, so it was another reason why people didn't work with it. And now I see pied retics, and I'm like, wow, they've come a long way from what I see. Like, they look unbelievable. And I mean, look at piebald ball pythons. I mean, impressive on their own, but like the stuff that Ozzy's doing with them, oh my God, that stuff's insane. I mean, a lot of people are doing, but I like Ozzy stuff a lot, and I always pay attention to Ozzy's page. That guy he kills it. I mean, I think I know Justin Bilka gets all the, he does amazing things too, but I'm an Ozzy fan. Like, not just for, I do like Oz a lot, but I think the things that he does, Oz more selectively, I think, breed stuff. Like, I think somebody tried to tell me, like, it looks like Ozzy kind of does the same thing over and over again. I'm like, well, you're not looking. Because, I mean, every year it's getting better and better, and he's definitely doing different stuff. But his Orange Dream stuff, like I said, it's just, to me, I feel like he more selectively breeds. Maybe I'm wrong, than just kind of searches out combos all the time and just keeps on trying to add on.
Hey, listen,
that's how I say it.
I love Ozzy, but this isn't a racing or anything, but I'm more of a Miguel Garcia guy. So
I think Miguel, what I love about Miguel, well, Miguel has bought amazing ingredients from all the people worth buying from. So Miguel has a very special collection. The reality is there's a lot of people with very special collections in ball pythons right now, because again, after years of watching ball python guys do what they do, I do believe it's becoming more of an art form now. I do think that there's more thought being put into it. Your comment on Ozzy. Ozzy built his entire thing around the Orange Dream, a gene that could have went to anybody. Thank God it went to Ozzy. And the funny thing too about that gene, when you talk about ball pythons, I don't think it was until he bred it to a spider that he understood the potential on what it did to, I think, his first spider combo, and now what he does today. So a gene that isn't necessarily even a subtle gene, he had it, he messed with it, he made the right animal, and then he moved forward to make better animals with it. Like I said, I do think there's more thought being put into projects now in ball pythons, and honestly, I've been more impressed with ball python breeding over the last 4 or 5 years than I had in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's I don't, maybe someone does it better. I'm not super in touch with the ball python community, but like you said, Ozzy with the Orange Dream, I think it's what JD Constrictors does, all the stuff with the Xanthic, and like, man, that's crazy. Like, I don't know that guy or anything, but like I said, you walk by his table and everything's black and white, and it's like a tribute to, like, he's taking that Xanthic gene to the next level. You know what I mean? Where, like I said, Ozzy's taking that Orange Dream stuff to the next level. And I always appreciated Ozzy too, because hearing his breeding plans, where a lot of people were doing, 500 clutches, Ozzy's like, I'm not even doing 100. I mean, he might have changed it now because but I mean, this is when Ozzy was pretty big. But I don't even do 100 because I'm looking for certain things. I don't want too much of that. When Ozzy would appear to show, every ball python guy would be, and I don't mind that. I was getting 2 tables, and that's a lot for me. He would have 1 table with a couple tiers of just amazing stuff, just to show it off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if it was necessarily for sale. It was just like, this is cool stuff. And I would just always appreciate his approach. I never felt like he was super loud with anything. And I've always talked to him and just appreciated all the conversations I had with Oz. And see, I get the idea too. Like, some ball python guys are very in it for fame and money. I mean, they love the animals too, where I said Ozzy to be an animal nut. Like, he opened up that pet store, and I don't know how he was getting Syntec cages and got into retics, and he was going to maybe get in the bloods, and he got crazy. just because he was passionate about it. You know what I mean? And like, I don't think all that worked out for him, but sure, it didn't affect him. But I like the fact that I think even talking to him, he's like, I don't know how it's going to go, but I want that stuff. He's like, I just want it. I want to try it out. And he went for it. And I see, I don't know if other people look at that, but I appreciated that for him, for that he does that. Cause it showed to me like, this guy's an animal nut. You know what I mean? It's not just about, you know, what a lot of other people seem to be about, you know, to me.
Well, you know, we kind of talked, or I brought up, and again, I'm sure I say this every podcast, but the 5-year cycle. And this is especially in ball pythons. You know, outside looking in, you get sold the dream based on sometimes a financial gain. You know, sometimes there's just a true passion for the animals. But the reality is, if you don't love your work, you're probably not going to keep on doing it. So as soon as you hit a snafu, as soon as there's a better word for it, I'm half retarded right now. It's like a 4-letter word. But first thing that goes wrong, you find a reason to get out. If you're passionate about the animals, first thing that goes wrong, you learn from your mistakes and you keep on moving forward.
Yeah.
But, oh man, hey, MJ, I know we usually have like a 2-hour mark. You're sleeping with all your lights off. Are we going to keep going for a minute?
I'm
Matt?
sleeping. Like literally my head wants to explode like a fucking volcano. I don't know who
In a
you're
good way or bad way?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to keep this positive, but I also want to keep it 110% honest too right now. Like I really do. So I don't know which way to go. You could pull the reins on this one. Where do you want me to go at this point? Should we calm it down?
Well, how about this? Matt, you good for a few more minutes? If we hit a wall, we'll call it quits. How about that?
I'm fine. I'm fine to go, man. I do NPR, man. There's only 3-hour podcasts, so I can roll.
Yeah, I think my record was like 3 hours and 45 minutes. I'm a lot older now, so I don't think that's ever going to happen again.
Are you subtracting the 45 minutes to Walmart because our episode was 4 hours?
I was so arrogant. I didn't even mean me. I meant other people. I think I was talking about Ron St. Pierre in that moment. Like I said, there was this life before us.
Right.
This is good, man. But I'm going to refer back to the other thing till we do enough of these.
Right.
Well, how about this, man? Shit. Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot, MJ. You've always wanted Matt. Now you got Matt. Was there anything that you ever thought about with Matt, or was this like one of those things where you saw him one time, you thought he was hot, and just wanted to see him a little longer?
No, listen. I mean, goddamn, Matt. I come from a extended background of. Well, I mean, not only do I have Dave, but Forrest Fanning, right? I had people like Forrest and people who kind of gave me the like lowdown on certain people who are good at certain things. Like your name was brought up quite a while back, when enough to where I wanted to bring you on. But somebody else who brought you up on the show, who I highly respect, is Keith McPeak. And I thought Keith for sure was going to be my like, okay, Matt told me I have a way to go before I could get him on the show. Maybe Keith could get him on. But at the end of the day, you've always been somebody who I've always wanted to hear and talk to, mainly because of the respect you've gotten from the whole hobby as a whole. And I'm talking about from people who tap into a whole bunch of other things, not just a short tail hobby. By the way, you're probably the most favorite short tail breeder I've had on this show. Like people are calling you the GOAT in the comments, like over here, like they're calling you the real deal. They're calling you the real deal. Holyfield. Even Elijah Armis, like honestly, before getting you on, like I thought Elijah, and nothing against Elijah, but like, bro, like you've held a lot of shit down for a while. The biggest thing that makes me happy to talk to you finally and hear from you is how other stuff interests you more than what you're known for. I'm curious with the chondros, right? You have a chondro, right? Is that correct?
I do. I had 20 at one point. I did have 20. I dove deep into chondros. Yeah, I went crazy.
Can we talk about that real quick? I'm curious how it was you getting into the chondros. What got you out of the chondros? First and foremost, what got you into the chondros? And then we could go from there.
All right. So I was saying, like, you want to know I'm not going to tell my whole story, but so when I was a kid, free library was a big thing in Philadelphia. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so we'd walk the avenue, always go to the free library. My mom, what books do you want to get out? I'm just a kid. Everything's pictures then. Only thing I'd ever get out was reptile books. That's how I got into reptiles. And the one book I'd always take out had a green tree python on the cover and in the thing. So green tree pythons, a red-tailed boa, because that was another one, and king cobras were like my 3 favorite snakes. They were the ones that stood out to me the most. And all that stuff. So even when I got into snakes and I kind of just hung at a pet store all the time. That was a specialty rep store when I reptile store when I was 11, 12, 13. I would hang out there, and I knew people had green tree pythons. There was never any in there, but it was like unobtainable to me. I thought you could never have them. And then even when I got into the hobby, after being successful with Borneos and Reds and everyone telling me how hard it is and it's impossible and you're stupid for doing that, green trees were still a thing that like scared me. I just didn't think I could do it, but I never really looked into it, never really talked to anybody, just assumed it was expensive and hard. And then I finally took the leap. I want to say like, I can't remember the year. It might have been 2014 or 15. I bought my first one in Tinley. And I literally bought one, and one turned into like 2 years, like 15, 16. I had 20, dude. I was buying up everything. I had a guy that was, his name was like Hartmut Terps, and he sold me some chondros, but he also did custom cages. And my room was tight as it was, but I had enough room to fit cages on top of my racks, and I could fit so many of them, and they were between, 14 and 18 inches high. So like for me, perfect chondro size cages. So I filled my room up. My first ever time breeding them, I was successful. I got 10 eggs. I hatched them. I was way too relaxed with feeding them. I didn't do that well. I only got 3 to feed, and they all kind of prolapsed and rolled on me. But I also got into them, like as I got into them, the next year was the height of Nito. It was Nito virus, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden, little by little, some stuff was just, fine one day, dropping off. So, I kind of weathered the storm as much as I could. And there was some stuff that didn't seem to be affected. And I rolled with probably 9 or 10 of them for a while. And when I got them healthy and people knew the Nito thing, I sold a few to people that, were other green tree people. And like I said, by the time I moved into this house, I was down to 4.
Shit.
And they all just have the one Aru locality. I like locality. So also, even when I had 10, I wasn't interested in breeding them anymore because I just knew I needed a lot of time to focus in on the babies, how much of a pain in the I did not enjoy that process. Like I knew it would be work. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't enjoy that at all. And I give a lot of respect to people feeding baby chondros or stuff like that. It's just not a lot of fun. I know with years of doing it, you get better and you start looking for stuff. And I had Gary Shavino helping me, Bill Stiegel helping me, Buddy Buscemi helping me, top guys helping me. And it was, it's not like I didn't have anybody in my corner, and it was just still difficult. And kind of, you're all good. Kind of grew out, like I said, they're a gorgeous snake. And I think I'll always have 1 or 2 in my collection. But to me, they are, they also were a little boring. I got to be honest. Like they sit on a perch, they don't do anything.
Yeah, it's wall art. I mean, they're just it's kind of like a fish tank.
yeah, and it's crazy to me because it's like they generally don't even move from the side they're on, and it's funny to me like observing the chondro community. It's like if that snake moves, it's like a panic, and I would never panic, but I mean obviously things went wrong. Yeah. So that's a dangerous thing to get into, man. You could really dive into them, but I'm glad I got that out of my system a lot of money later, but I don't think I'll ever go crazy like that again.
It's definitely not for the faint at heart. You got to learn how to fucking holster the emotions. And like you said, unless you get faced with death immediately and you got to know, can I continue with this or not? That's how you know. But some people, God bless the people who go so well for fucking 6-7 years and they go, hey, I'm going to pair these up now. And then they pair and then they die. And listen, I'm not trying to laugh. I'm just saying that's a reality of getting kicked in the balls in the chondro world. But hey, guess who I have this Thursday night on my show, Trap Talk, tomorrow night?
Who? Buddy Buscemi. That's awesome. Yeah. Buddy's awesome.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
I've been lucky enough to be to Buddy's house a few times. Buddy drove up with us to Tinley. And he vended on my table. So yeah, Buddy's. I haven't spoken to Buddy in forever. I feel bad, man. Buddy's awesome.
Well, I'll tell him you say hi tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Buddy's great. I mean, he's a man for knowledge. That guy, he knows a lot. So,
hey, Dave, why don't you go ahead and get your wrap up question in with Matt here?
Oh well, shit. We're wrapping up.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Australia, Dave. I thought we were talking about Australia.
Is it your bedtime, MJ? We didn't talk about Australia yet. Motherfucker just went to Australia. William Philippek sent me 5 questions for, the podcast.
I definitely
You
don't have
want to go take a nap and come back in 15?
No, I don't. I got a pregnant. Oh, excuse me. Shit. I didn't mean to say that. Never mind. We're good. Let's keep going.
You want to edit? We can edit.
You can't
That's why I said we shouldn't go live.
God, just stop. We're good. Continue. Go forward. Go forward.
Okay, well, how about this? We need a conversation to make MJ happy. Let's talk about hybrids, buddy. Hybrids are the talk of the town in the hobby right now. They're popping up everywhere. Chondro to ball python, blood to ball. It all comes back to a ball at the end of the day. What are your thoughts, man?
I don't like hybrids at all. There's no hybrid I like.
Brother.
They're definitely like a plague in the short tail community. A lot of new people don't understand why we don't like them. It's interesting when it's like you said, a chondro ball. But really, I don't need to say it anymore. That's
an abomination, bro. Listen, Gary Shavino said it best. The Carpondros are celebrating right now. They are no longer the worst piece of shit humans on earth. It's now the retic ball python people.
Yeah, I never was really into hybrids. It's not for me.
Okay. Is it because you don't like playing God? I don't see what the issue is right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just tricks people a lot. People think they're cooler than they are. They're going to be something, and I don't like them. And like I said, with me being in the short tails, it's always been an issue when people don't understand. They just think Borneo to a red is part of breeding. They don't understand they're different species. They're not even subspecies. They're different species. And then you got to explain it to them. And the problem is there's a lot of people, I'm patient with them people, but there are a lot of people that they just say, Cobra food, feed it to your monitor, it's trash, put it, all the typical things. And then it's a big war of a whole bunch of people not understanding why you hate hybrids. So yeah, they're just not for me.
Okay, I'm not going to try to sell you on the idea, buddy. I just wanted to see how you felt about it. And I do understand with the red or the bloods and the Borneos being crossed, but I'm more like, anaconda to boa constrictor, just the weird shit. It doesn't belong, but the reality is somebody's going to do it. I at least want to see it.
Well, here's a good, being from Philadelphia, my one buddy back in the day obviously didn't know ball pythons lay eggs and boas lay live. So he's like, hey, why don't you mix a boa and a ball? And you can call it a Balboa from Philadelphia. That's what I was like, yeah, dude, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
You know what you should do? Next time you go to a party, take a Philly cheesesteak roll and put a hot dog in it and see how everybody feels about it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty mad. If you put a Philly cheesesteak, if you put a cheesesteak, you don't call it a Philly cheesesteak if you're from Philly. If you put a cheesesteak on like a bun, it's disgusting. So yeah.
Dude, no whiz though, no cheese whiz. A true Philly cheesesteak has no whiz, right?
No, whiz. I don't understand whiz like that. To me, I thought it was a tourist thing, but there are people from Philly that prefer whiz. It's very rare, but I'm American, or even people are doing Cooper Sharp now. A lot of people do provolone. I'm not a big provolone fan, but whiz ruins it to me. I can't eat a whiz. It's not good.
You want me to? Can I give you a little secret on how to make a good Philly cheesesteak? Oh, I know, buddy. You're welcome. Here's what you got to do. And we can make this the wrap up for all I give a fuck, except William sent me some good questions I wanted to ask you today.
Well, you should have told me goddamn 2 hours ago, okay? So listen.
No, I sent you all the questions. I gave you a heads up so you can contribute. No, open up your messenger, buddy.
You just sent them right now. You said I should have sent you these a long time ago.
Well, I didn't realize we were done in 2 hours. I'm trying to get used to this East Coast, West Coast thing, man. I'm in the middle. Here we go. You ready?
I'm gonna die after this anyway. So why don't we just and we ought as well ask the questions. Let's do it.
Yeah, you can do rapid fire. I'll try to fire them off.
Rapid fire? Okay, so we're gonna go food and then we're gonna go back. But really quick, Philly cheesesteak, buddy. You gotta do banana pepper juice in the meat when you cook it.
No,
mushroom, dude. It brings so much sweet flavor. here's the thing. It's not my fault Philly's been doing it wrong for years. I'm trying to help you out right now.
Whoa, God! You sound like Tex-Mex.
No, when you do banana peppers are for when you go to a place that's not Philadelphia and they go Philly cheesesteak because they always put peppers and stuff in there. That's not a Philly cheesesteak. You do. I don't like onions, but you do fried onions and that's it, or regular. No
mushrooms.
No, you don't do mushrooms in Philly. You don't do it. No. That's why in Philadelphia it's a thing. It's with or without. With onions or without onions. That's you basically you order. You go American without, American with.
I heard Jim's is the number one spot. What's the number one spot?
Jim's is garbage. Jim's is to me. Jim's is garbage. John roast pork. That's number one. Dude, Angelo's is supposed to be good. Place called Joe's is good. There's a hood spot called I can't think of the name now. Jesus, I can't even think of the name, but it's super good. Jim's is a touristy spot to me. It's not that good.
What about pizza? What about pizza? What's a good place to get a good slice of pie at?
What if I'm talking about some pizza with a guy from Philly? Like
we got good pizza. We got good pizza.
Bro,
you guys have any Philly cheesesteak pizzas?
they do that, but it's gross. Pizza stores do that. It's gross. I don't like it.
Dude, come on. There's some of the best pizzas in the East Coast all around Pennsylvania. So I'm curious. Come on.
Yeah, just sounds like the guy's not into hybrids, buddy. That's all I'm hearing right now. I'm gonna put a cheesesteak on a pizza. He's gonna put it in his mouth. He's like, oh, the sacrilege of this. Oh.
I like Angelo's for pizza. I like Vince's for pizza. There's a couple other places. New York is better for pizza, but Philly got some good pizza places.
All right, hey, dude, come on, Dave. Let's see how quick we can rapid fire these goddamn William questions to Matt. Let's see if we can.
Okay, well, I don't think we have to bring up Dave and Tracy. We could skip that one. I love them. We'll skip that one. Okay, how about this? Here's something I know nothing about, and I can't even pronounce the name. He'll do the Z word. I'll do the M word. Mon pythons.
Oh, it's the other locality of red bloods they found. It's,
okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know much about them either. I don't think anybody really knows too much about them, so I can't really elaborate on it.
William's question was, do you think we'll see them in captivity in the United States for breeding? And, how do you think that'll impact? Do you think that'll just create like a little locality group that wants to just keep them pure? And if you fuck with it anyway, they're not going to be happy?
I doubt you'll see them in captivity with the way, importation's going. And if you did, it would be smart to keep them separate because from what I've seen of them, they look pretty different for now. So why just throw them in anything? We don't know much about them. So they could be a subspecies, a different species. It's so much not known about them.
Okay. Question number 4. Aside from the Sarawak localities of Borneos, do you see any other localities of Borneos being worked with in the country at the moment?
No, Sarawak is the only thing, and Rich Crowley worked with them a lot. He still does work with them. If you have the taste for them because you want that locality, great. Rich has done great work with them. They're not for me, really. They're just kind of, I think Dan Maganu picked up some of them from Rich. Yeah, I don't think so. When it comes to Borneos, it looks like, besides Sarawak, it's the only separate locality, even though they're from all over the island of Borneo. I don't see anybody separating Central from, anything else. It's like Sarawak's, I think, we're a thing that came in back in the day, and that's kind of how that happened.
Okay. Hey, MJ, I don't know if you open our message. You want to do question number 5 for him and wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so as far as, what woke shit we're talking about?
Wait, ignore that part. Wait, hold on. Maybe I should have given you an easier one. That was him just having a conversation and a question. We don't talk about woke shift on this show. Do we talk about woke stuff on here? Are we woke?
No, I don't know. I'm just trying to ask. I went off question 5, and that's what I'm reading.
I hate politics, so let's not do politics.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was a politic question. It was actually going to be something else. It was just
the Curtis complex. Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts about doing with. Oh wait. Okay. Honestly,
the Curtis complex in. Are we both illiterate?
No, just go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Oh wait, how about this? What's your next species?
Cool.
So I have just a male. I have Pulse and Candoya stuff. I want to get a female. I got it from Elijah actually. So he bred awesome ones. So I do like Candoya stuff. I was in the Viper boas for a short stint, but they weren't my thing. I sold the little group I had. But the Pulse and I are really nice.
Okay. Did you see that albino Viper that was posted this past week?
I believe I did, yes.
Okay. Now, does that excite you like it excites me, or is it like, hey, man, it's cool, but you can give two fucks?
Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, when it comes to Viper boas, I like obviously the red ones are nice, but I really like the yellow ones a lot. I think the yellow ones are the best ones. So I know that one's like orange, so maybe I should be excited, but I don't know. I just kind of see morphs nowadays as like people will unnecessarily get into them. They won't really love them. They'll just love the morph. Maybe it'll turn them around and make them love it, so it can cause good. But I just think people chase morphs too much. That's me.
I think there's something for everybody. And I do think that some people enjoy the paint jobs. That's all I got to say.
No, and that's fine. But I don't like when you could have walked by a really nice Viper boa and not gave a shit. And now that there's an albino, it's kind of like, ooh, maybe I could jump in on that market. And kind of, you do like it, but you also see more dollar signs than liking the animal. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
Well, it honestly kind of, in a positive way, impacts you, though, or anybody that's been with the species for a long time, because, when like the crested gecko community, which I bring up all the time because they're surging right now, but, you added mutations and you got new people wanting to work with them. Sometimes that is the motivating factor. And, too, with your ocelot project, man, you would be where you're at, I'm sure, right now without it. But what a special opportunity that was for you to work with that.
No, it was awesome. And I don't hate mutations. I work with them. But when something like a Viper boa, or like I said, like a rough scale python came out with an albino, I'm sure a lot of people would be psyched. I would be that psyched. We've seen a lot of albino stuff and it might look amazing, but at the same time, I know it's just going to bring in a bunch of people that don't really care that much for the animal. It's for the opportunity to cash in on the animal. And like I said, it might be someone's main objective, and they might turn around and go, I love rough scale pythons now. But I think for the most part, it's chasing the dollar.
Okay, I respect that.
Yeah, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's not what I'm about. You know what I mean? Like
So, and this is not to say anything negative towards the buying community, but we need people to chase the dollar. It keeps us employed.
I know what you're saying. That's what I mean. Different sides. I know people are doing it as a living. I'm doing it as a hobby. So it's like I said, I don't hate all that stuff, but it's, in my personal opinion, I don't care as much anymore. And another reason why I'm getting into red tail boas and rough scale pythons is I'm enjoying just having the natural look of the animal and not having to think about adding a ton of it because there's a bunch of mutations I like. So it's kind of awesome to just be like, I really just like it for the wild type. And I don't need 30 of them. Like there's no risk of me getting 30 of them because I don't need 30 rough scale pythons. You know what I mean? They're all generally kind of the same. If I have a handful, I'm good.
So in 10 years, when more people are working with rough scales and there's certain little things popping up that might be more line bred, we're going to talk about how many rough scales you want. All right, MJ, bud, I need the last question out of you. You usually put this shit on me and I get all crazy. What do you got, buddy?
I mean, at the end of the day, Matt, with the popularity, with the hobby, I mean, how would you suggest anyone coming into the short tail game now? Especially if they're trying to branch from something that they're already good at. If they needed some sort of kind of like advice or maybe good stepping stone into the short tail game, what would that be, you feel like?
I just think with short tails, just always be ready. Just have an open mind, okay? Like there's a lot of good people to help you. Don't go off of what, like, obviously you can have one person, but go off a couple of different people. It's kind of going to be the same thing anyway, but keep an open mind into like whatever you thought you were going to do. It might not work or it might be not as good. Just be ready to change it and don't be so stubborn. There's a lot of people that come in stubborn, like I'm going to do it this way, and they're having a hell of a time and they're kind of resistant. And like I said, it's fine to have a mentor or look up to somebody, but the short tail community is cool. Go around and talk to everybody. You know what I mean? Get a couple different opinions, not like you're running up against someone else's, but you might just run into another idea that maybe the person you're saying they just don't do it that way. And you talk to someone else, like, I've been having success with it forever. Just like I said, I just think keeping an open mind and patience with them. Because if you're getting a snake that you think it's going to be awesome right off the bat because you're going to be able to do all this stuff with it, you might get one that's defensive. And it's not that it can't turn that off. You can't work that out. So but it's going to take time. It isn't like, I don't know, there are some species you can get in a month, it's striking at you and you're fine with it. You have to take some time, let it settle down, and build a rapport with it. It takes a little more time with short tails, I believe.
Respect, bro. Fuck. Well, listen, 2 hours, 15 minutes went by pretty quick. I ain't going to lie, man. We had well over 50 people tapped in at one point. What do you have to say to all your supporters out there? I got to say, Matt, you had a lot of people looking forward to this episode. I'm one of them. Obviously, Dave is one of them. But all your supporters, everyone out there who's been rooting for you, mainly your customers, what do you have to say to everyone out there who's been fucking with you, bro?
I'm happy people want to, look at my stuff and like it and buy it. And I don't really know you, MJ. And you said, there's people out there saying, you saying I get a lot of respect. That like, to me, that's amazing. Cause I wasn't kidding when I say being on podcasts, I don't understand why people necessarily want to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, I love listening to podcasts. Like you mentioned Ron St. Pierre, that guy should have his own show. I can listen to Ron's stories. It's crazy, man. He just talks and I want to listen. But it's crazy that people want to hear from me, and I feel like I babble and I can get boring. And so I'm just glad people, check out my stuff, want to buy it, support any way he can. I don't ask for anything really. And like I said, I'm out there, and sorry to any new short tail people that are really coming up. I've just kind of been checked out. I do see stuff, and there's a lot of good people coming up. And I definitely got to dive back into the Facebook group because, like I said, there's a lot of good people coming up, and I really appreciate the things they're doing. And it's good to see new people because I've seen so many of my old friends kind of move out of it and check out. And there's still a lot of great people in it, like you said, like Dan and Elijah, and there's a ton of people. Matt. I really appreciate what Matt's doing. He's working with Sumatran short tails, pumpkin heads. I mean, I haven't seen anybody focus on that. So that's really cool that he's deciding to go down that road. And he seems to really already be working it out. So I hope he continues on with that.
No, for sure. Hey, MJ, before you do your wrap up today, I want to say one last thing.
Sure.
So MJ a few weeks ago brought up anytime a super chat was going to come in, we were going to give it to USR. We had our episode with Ryan last week. I kind of was talking more big picture stuff, but I do think that the small contributions in the hobby are so important. So, when he brought up the fact that we were going to do that, honestly, that was exciting to me. I love the idea of giving. I think it was a great thing to do. I do hope that more people come out and want to be a part of this when we go live so we can go bigger with this. But no, like I said, it's such a great thing for the show, in my opinion. I think it's a good thing for the hobby. And, I hope more people, again, come out and just do this with us and see where it goes. Now I'm done. I ain't got shit to say, bud. This is all you, man. You're the wrap-up guy.
Hey, listen, Matt, for anybody who wants to be on top of what you do have available, what's the best way for people to be on top of shit like that?
I basically operate off Facebook and Instagram, Philly Herp Pediculture on both. I'm sure if you put in Philly Herp, you'll find me. I'm also just on Facebook as Matt Minetola also, and I try to direct people. I used to try to keep it clean of sending people there and not accepting everybody on my personal page, but it went crazy. So either way, Matt Minetola, Philly Herp Pediculture on Instagram or Facebook, you should be able to find me.
Fuck yeah. Well, guys, I'll put that information in the description below. But, guys, that's a wrap for our boy Matt Minetola, Philly Herp. Hey, bro, next time I go to Philly, dude, no onions. I'm just going to get that shit straight up. All meat. Meat and grease.
Yeah, well, cheese, too. You got to get cheese. But, yeah, no, leave it alone, man. Just no mushrooms. You can do onions. Just don't do mushrooms.
Hey, listen, Matt. Hey, do me a favor, bro. Can you come on Trap Talk, please? You think I earned that spot for you to come on Trap Talk?
I believe I can, but give me some time because I got a bunch coming up, so might as well not just water me down. You know what I mean? So so apparently I'm so popular, so don't water me down. You know what I mean? So.
Hey, listen, have a good night, Matt. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, bro. See you later.
I'll see you.
Fuck yeah, what a great episode. Dave, good stuff, man. I gotta say, you really facilitated the shit out of this one, and I appreciate it came to this platform. I'm happy it came to this channel, and kudos to you, my man. Thank you so much.
No, like I said, this is fun, man. I hate to hijack conversations, but I'm not gonna lie. Just like you, I want to talk to this guy for years, and I've been talking to this guy for years. But
Right.
we got some good stuff coming up. We scheduled a garter snake on January 11th. We're gonna do a garter snake one, which I'm excited about. Maybe go isopods next week, or you want to keep it reptilian?
Next Wednesday, I'm gonna be not here. I'm gonna be in the East Coast. Yeah, so I won't be
Okay.
here. Yeah. I'm gonna be tapping in Jersey next week. So I'll be in the East Coast next week.
Okay, tight. Well, if you call me for a cameo, I might stop by. Well, how about this? Let's start talking about our Christmas episode. Chad Hulker is my traditional Christmas guy. So, we'll make some plans for that, start talking about it. And I tell people all the time, man, let us know who you want to hear from. There's a lot of people out there that do good things. I can't know everybody.
Here's the thing, with all due respect, people love, like for instance, anybody you mention that you want to bring, I'm all game for, because I want to hear who you want to hear from. I feel like that's how people look at us. People rely on us. Now, mind you, people do have really good suggestions, and we're welcoming all suggestions. But at the end of the day, it's up to us, Dave. We're the ones that bring the heat. So, and we will, trust me. Dave's really good at telling me what his ideas are, and the ideas will keep going back and forth. But Christmas episode will be legendary. 2 weeks episode will be legendary. But anything you want to wrap up with before we head out here, Dave?
I'm happy. We might not say the number today, but again, I'm going to go back to U.S. SARC donations. Always appreciated. I noticed some big numbers coming on early on. Like I said, I want to set a bar for this. Every week we'll talk about it moving forward, say how much we're contributing, and let's see if we could be better every week. How about that, guys?
Day by day. Thank you so much, Dave Levison. Thank you so much, URP family. Thank you. If this was your first time checking this out, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, be ready for the next URP episode. And it's a wrap for episode 55. Have a good night, Dave. You're my boy, dog.
All right, later, bud.
Peace.